It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. And we intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
What up? 1 2 1 2. Good morning, Allie. Good morning, Denise. Already addressing the room. I like it. Good morning. It's Thursday already. So much I want to get to. I ain't gonna lie, the previous live streams this week felt like I was just trying to get to everything, and I never get to anything. I never get to everything, but I'm gonna try to stay on point. Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Megzy. Hey, Debbie. Good morning. Appreciate y'all. I hope y'all feeling great. I hope everyone is feeling well. If you're watching live, what up? It's mic'd up with Mika, the live stream. If you're watching later, same thing. But thank you for supporting with the clicks and the clicking on the replays. If you're watching later, I appreciate it. So yeah, this morning I actually wanted a break. I felt like, especially after dealing with dark money and yesterday's live stream, I wouldn't say that I finished the live stream feeling regret. It wasn't regret. It was like I said a lot, and don't know if there'll be blowback. There typically is blowback. Usually blowback for me is really subtle, and I don't really get a hold on it. I don't really get an indication of how much blowback until like really later, much later rather. But anyway, I said a lot. I name names. I feel like that's what y'all expect from me. I shout out to all the education advocates that watch this show, that communicate with me before and after live streams, that validate some of the concerns I have. Hey, what up, Rugby? What up, Brienne? Validate some of the concerns I have. And I think that honestly, look, ain't nobody talking about dark money philanthropy in Charleston. And like no one's talking about it. In the sense of like within media. And while I'm not a journalist, I really do hope that I ignited someone's curiosity about dark money. Someone's not necessarily. I don't want to be a fearmonger or an alarmist. But I think that we have to get comfortable with thinking critically about things. And today's the perfect day to do that, to continue that, because we're going to talk about the life and legacy of Bell Hooks. And, talk about incendiary comments, talk about radical, amazing, eyebrow-singeing feminist theory. I think, I had some like, Tamika, did you say too much? And I was like, nah. And then like I hop off live stream, and then I get the news that Bell Hooks passes away. And then I start reading tweets, and within some of the barrage of tweets of people, just an outpouring of reflection, I saw people lift up what I know to be true is Bell Hooks wasn't really that appreciated. Like she was, those who know, right? Those who are really like, but she wasn't embraced in some ways and shapes, and like things she would say would be, debatable too. Like I don't always agree with everything, but like it was really just seeing that I'm like, okay, you know what? When bold women say things, when bold women take a leap, that's often met with some kind of resistance. So I felt oddly enough, I felt emboldened and maybe inspired by Bell Hooks after the live stream to continue to challenge power in this area. Allie, you said, what? Allie, I'm not going to play that every time you chat. Every time I read one of your comments, Allie, you just dropped in the chat. I know I didn't switch the camera up yet, but I'm just going to read the chat. I know that feeling after you say a lot, it's natural. Thank you for recognizing that. Seriously, right? Yeah, like, I said a lot. I put Darren's face on a thumbnail. Oh shit. Darren, even like in a passive aggressive, like petty way, like a couple weeks ago, he liked the tweet that was critical of him. Because every bit of content that is published in the Post and Courier that has Darren Darren at the CCF as a common denominator. Like, I'm going to talk about it. And it's so anyway, it was so funny how he liked a tweet of mine that was critical of him. So like, I'm like, oh boy, now I'm on the radar a little bit. Like, I'm on somewhat of a radar. I'm sure he's busy earning over $250,000. Shout out to the tax disclosures. Or should I say, look, if you got more smoke for me than you got for a man earning over $250,000 in salary, if you got more smoke for me, more Mika, stop, Mika, no. And I'm not saying like people who earn high. Y'all know my views on capitalism. I'm not, and y'all know that I like to respect nuance. But if you got more smoke for me than you do for a man earning $250,000 and leading a multi-million-dollar foundation, then your aim is off, fam. All right. Good morning, little mama. Little mama, I had a apple cider donut last night. I heated it up. They frozen. I got 2 more. 2 more. Oh, it's so good. So good. Heated it up in the oven. All right, let's get to it. That was 7 minutes of. So we're gonna start. We're gonna kick off. Well, we're gonna talk about the life and legacy, a celebration of love that is Bell Hooks. So we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna start with like contemporary outpourings. Like I was looking for, and this is weird when someone dies. It's weird to like look for like, okay, what did they say? What did they? But I really was as a huge fan of Imani Perry, the author, the scholar. I love her book. The only Imani Perry book that I finished was Looking for Lorraine, and I fell in love with her writing there. And I really am happy that Imani Perry was featured in this piece on Bell Hooks from NewsHour. But we're not going to start there. We're going to start with local. Hey, good morning, Christy. Oh, no. Oh, we're not going to start with local either. Hold up. Wait a minute. Oh, hold up. I got mad windows up because I wanted to stay on point. Now I'm going to put that down. Hold on, y'all. Bear with your girl. I want to say thank you. This first day of like the first like 24 hours of launching the fundraiser has been almost like it's overwhelming. So I really want to say thank you. First and foremost, Headspace Murals for this collaboration, and just helping me so much build out this vision. Y'all have come through. Y'all have been support. Y'all have been sharing across social media. It's been amazing. I want to say thank you. I'm just going to read y'all's names, y'all first names. Thank you, Anders. Thank you, Kate C. Thank you, Nicole D. Thank you, Jaron M. Rebecca C. Bailey B. Lauren, my girl. Lauren, you know who you are. Kate Malcolm, my Giving Project cohort member. Oop, I didn't mean to say her whole name. I'm trying to not to, but thank you. It's so many Kates in Charleston. Y'all gotta chill. Kathleen G, thank you. Whiskey Neat times 2. Thank you. Ashley B. Allie, Tom, my B-man, Tom, Diane P, Brandon, who will be on tomorrow's live stream tomorrow. Didn't expect you to like, you know what I mean? Thank you so much, Brandon. Michael T, times 2. Lil Mama, Joy, L Cool J, Christy, Megsy, D, This Justin, Lucy, another Giving Project cohort member. Thank y'all so damn much. I am so appreciative. Seriously, y'all, I'm going to update, be very transparent with this fundraiser. Very transparent with like how many units, how many units I'm moving, yo, on the block, yo. I'm moving hoodies, you know what I mean? Making the buck. Let me stop. Y'all don't even know how ratchet I am when I'm not live streaming. Nah, but seriously, I'll be very transparent about like where we're at, what and what this support. Y'all already know. I will tell you. I will show you the Carfax. I will show you what and where and how your support as much as possible, right? I ain't gonna play myself, but I'm gonna show y'all, and I'm reading those names right there as a start. Thank you to the people who donated, who was like, I got the hoodie, but can I just drop you a couple? I was like, what? Wait, hold up. Right, I want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and this is a collaborative event. This is a collaborative act. This is a collaborative activity. I am trying to move in the spirit of my giving projects. I know I talked about that work that I did at Cypress. I talk about the work that I do now with Bread and Roses in Philadelphia with their gender justice giving project, and I really wanted to bring some of that to some of what I've learned over the year to this. Like, so if you want to. I'm hoping that you will feel like, okay, I'm going to start asking some local businesses that I think is down with the shit. If you want to reach out to local businesses, if you want to reach out to local people, shout out to Mackenzie, shout out. Mackenzie helped me craft an ask, right? So, you know, if I got time, I'll show you the anatomy of an ask, how we teach it in the giving projects, right? Giving project, for those who don't know, is work that I've been a part of at my previous employer, and now with Bread and Roses as a contracted employee, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, whatever. The Giving Project is all about teaching communities how to resource themselves. So instead of going to big philanthropy and stuff that we've talked about here, instead of going to big funders and donors who put you through a lot of the traditional and needless barriers to gain access to capital, Giving Projects was all about teaching people how to leverage your own network to raise money for a specific goal or a specific organization. And so the work that I did led to grant making for maybe 10, maybe a dozen or more grassroots organizations. Now, while Charleston Activist Network is not a 501c anything, I wanted to actually, this is still a grassroots media outfit, right? And so I really hope that even though there's no charitable content, I'm trying to not complicate. I've been giving that word a workout this week, but I'm trying to get y'all to rethink what giving should look like, and not just to benefit me, but in general, right? Like you can give to Low Country Street Grocery. You know, you can actually look at them, look at the work they're doing in the community, look at the work they're doing around health and wellness and creating access to high quality produce. You can actually support that instead of saying, well, it's not a food bank and I don't get a receipt, so I can't make it tax. My gift is not tax deductible. Fuck all that. Your giving doesn't have to be transactional. It's about making a compelling argument, yes. And so we have a script. If you want to like move in the spirit of a giving project, and one day I'm gonna bring on the homies from the Giving Project Network to kind of break, because I really think y'all really enjoy hearing what a giving project is and how it's led. I might bring on some homies that have done one, and then some of the leaders within the Giving Project Network. But moving in the spirit of a giving project, I'm trying to get y'all to say, hey, if you really care about the work that I create and you understand it's not sustainable to bootstrap this, right? Like, let me be real quick, and I'm gonna switch it right back, and we're gonna get to everything. Let me be real quick. Megsy, put that on the track list next year. Let me be real quick. And I see you in the chat. I'm gonna catch up. Thank you for dropping the link. Now I got distracted. No. Let me be real. Yes, I got it. Let me be real quick. So many people after I got let go, right? So y'all remember the story. When I started live streaming, I would live stream at 7:30 to 9 because I have a 9 to 5. I know I'm no longer with that employer, and so anyway, so a lot of y'all know, because I'm very vocal. I was vocal yesterday, very vocal about that. Very, very sad and disrespectful firing. Never been fired before a day in my life. And so a lot of y'all was like, okay, you good? Like, yo, you good? And a lot of y'all floated me job applications or job listings. A lot of y'all reached out and asked on my behalf, like, yo, can I float your name for this position and that? And a lot of y'all just asked me this, like, okay, so what are you gonna do? Like, how do you make money? And I'm trying to get y'all to understand that. Oh, my orchid blossom just fell out. I'm trying to get y'all to understand that this is the work. This is my job. And not in a bad way. Just so I think we have this view on content creation or like this type of content creation. Some of y'all got it, so I'm preaching to the converted on some of y'all, but some of y'all don't understand that this is the work. Oh, what do you know? So when we have this conversation and we go out to lunch and I get questions like this all the time, like, oh, well, what's next on the horizon? This is the horizon. I'm literally trying to create more dynamic content, bring in other voices, create content around those voices and those in different subject matter outside of what I regularly talk about here. This is the work. Bootstrapping Charleston Activist Network is not feasible, is not sustainable. Just going into my pockets is not sustainable. And we have to get folks used to, just like with PBS or maybe your favorite podcast or your favorite YouTuber, they create content, they create a following or they've earned a following and people show up in support, right? And I think that this is the time to start normalizing that. Like, you can support good work. But every day coming here, I already told y'all, it's difficult. It's not easy. It takes a lot of moving parts. Jared is amazing. I want to pay Jared. I want to bring Jared on as a part-time employee or part-time employee or whatever it is, right? I want to make sure I subsidize his work and his sweat equity, because without him, I wouldn't even be here right now, right? And so, like, little things like that, not little things, big things like that, it requires funding and support. And so I'm going to continue on with merch. I'm going to continue on with creating things that I feel have value. In effort and in hopes that y'all will understand, like, okay, you have to, this is quality content that needs to be, that's worth something. And again, some of y'all already got it. Most of my core followers get that. But it's time to start normalizing that. And I don't have to be a charity to be deserving of support. I don't have to be a charity. I don't have to be a 501c3 to be an activist either, right? I don't have to participate in that. And not to say that I won't create some sort of as progressive as I can get, progressive fund or organization. I'm not saying that I wouldn't create that, if I have to, if I felt compelled, but right now I am what I am. All right, so that's it. I'm talking a lot, and I definitely want to get to y'all's comments. Y'all say good morning. Let me see. Good morning, Christy. Hey, Brianna. I said, hey, Brandon, how you doing? Hey, Evelyn, that's what's up. Thank you. Joni, that's what's up. Good morning, we can find the link. Y'all helped her out. Thank y'all for being co-producers. Y'all are just excellent co-producers. I can't pay y'all, but I can clap. Let me stop. Hey, this Justin. You a real one, Justin. You a real one. All right. You said I never take the tax form. Right. Thank you, Joni. It's so transactional. You said your religious convictions won't allow it in good conscience. Yeah, we gotta just disrupt all that type of traditional thoughts on, like, it has to be a gut-wrenching story, and especially if you're a Black person. Like, my story is not based on poverty. It's not based on none of that. Like, believe me. The most gut-wrenching, I think one of the most gut-wrenching aspects of my personal story is graduating Charleston County Public Schools. That's my harrowing tale. Whew, Lord. Especially when your guidance counselor won't help you apply for colleges. God damn. All right. Let's get to local news roundup real quick. We're not going to do a lot of local news. We're going to focus on bell hooks. But there's a couple things that caught my eye. I got in my car yesterday, and in the middle of the day, I heard that Derek Chauvin pled guilty in his federal court case. Like, I almost forgot that there was a federal case hanging over his head. So he pleaded guilty, which means he made a deal, which also means that the case against him was husky. Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. The other headlines, I'm trying to make this. Ugh. All right, other headlines. The state reports first 3 cases of Omicron, right? There's this the story they keep. I think this is the second time I think I've seen this story featured in the Post and Courier about the Medal of Honor for a late soldier. So that's there. Here at the bottom, below the fold, do-over makes Representative Mace's district more competitive. Some GOP-leaning precincts return to Clyburn district. That's interesting. And then over here we have a story: the coroner fined $17K for South Carolina ethics watchdog. Oh, by the South Carolina ethics watchdog. I got to get into that. Avery's written a couple pieces this week that I want to read, but this one right here, y'all, I'm burying the mother effing lead. Why'd I just say effing? Y'all, see, this is why I hate. Y'all know we were tracking this, right? It was like, what's going to happen to Calhoun? They going to ship it out? I wonder what they going to do. They didn't want to. The History Commission was like, I don't know, guys. It's going to L.A.? You know, those liberals, they're going to, right? So that was the story. I did not read this yet. I'm going to read it with y'all real quick. It's never quick. Plan to use Calhoun in exhibit advances. History Commission recommending loan. Okay, shout out Emma for writing this. After spending the past year and a half in storage, the 125-year-old statue of John C. Calhoun may head from the south to the west. Charleston Commission, the Charleston Commission on History voted 7-4. Wow. I can guess who was the 4 on December 15th. I should go to watch it, but we don't have time. 7-4 on December 15th to recommend that the city lend the statue to a group of Los Angeles-based artists, exhibitors. The final approval will have to come from City Council, likely in January. They better approve it. We better submit comment. We might have to submit comment on that one. All right, having John C. Calhoun is great. Who said that? Having John C. Calhoun is great, but they talk the people that want it. But having Charleston's participation, given the Mother Emanuel massacre as a start of the conversation about decommissioning these monuments, that's what is in mind of greater importance. So I leave it there. Y'all can read the rest of the article. It continues on page A4, but I wanted to read that. All right, so I'm gonna close that out. And so this is the front page of today's state newspaper. My chat is paused. Let me make sure I see stuff and melt that shit down. Yeah, artists in the chat, artists, makers, crafters. What would you do? What would you do if, let's say, you got a decent salary by the city? Let's say you made as much as Darren from CCF. Let's say you made $250,000 and you work for the city. And they were like, yo, we got this statue. You can make a unilateral decision about the fate of John C. Calhoun. Just like that. Just imagine that. What would y'all do? Makers in the chat. Let me know. All right. Again, reporting on the state newspaper front page, the first Omicron COVID cases reported in South Carolina. So there's at least 3. We know it's probably way more than that. New voting map plan shakes up Richland County. Right, here's the legendary. I never heard about this dude, Coach George Glimpf. I never knew him. So he's a legendary South Carolina high school basketball coach. I don't know, Brandon, if you know of his work. He got a USA basketball situation in the back, so I'm already intrigued. All right, so he passed away. Rest in peace to a legend. Don't know much about him, but I'll probably go back and read this story. All right. So I'm gonna leave that there. That's the news roundup. I got my canopy open. What that mean? We're gonna watch some bell hooks too. But first, before we get to this too, I wanted to go ahead and do some local news. Some things that caught my attention. Mad bell hooks. 2 things, y'all. Did y'all hear about this dude? I need a wrestling sound effect. Like an iconic wrestling match when somebody like comes out of the back, like, oh no, here comes the Iron Sheik. Like I need some like 80s wrestling commentary. Cause I'm like, where does dude come from? Don't know nothing about this. What is this? Oh, I'm getting a message. But this is Hardyville businessman, former Marine, announces candidacy for U.S. House. All right. Oh, that's Jermaine. You think that was Jermaine O'Neal's head coach? Oh, say word. Okay. All right, here we go. So let's. I was like, who? But this was the other odd thing. So WCBD, they posted his campaign video on their feed. I never seen a news organization just post a campaign video. It's not a big deal, but it's just weird. Like, did you post Dr. Annie's? I don't know. Maybe they did, but I'm not sure. All right, so we watched this. Y'all, I don't know. I got questions and comments.
I always tell my daughter and my son, your success is based on how you work, treat, and respect the folks that work with you. This advice doesn't just apply to some 9-to-5 job, your co-workers.
Okay, so off rip. We got a lot of generic B-roll. So whoever was hired to complete this video is not using local footage, not using too much real foot outside of him walking. They use a lot of, if you compare it to, like, let's say the Tamika Isaac Divine ad, I literally can recognize people I know in her ad from Columbia. Same thing for, I think, Mia McLeod as well, used a lot of real B-roll clips.
I always tell my daughter and my son, your success is based on how you work, treat, and respect the folks that work with you. This advice doesn't just apply to some 9-to-5 job.
Why they have him waving at people we can't see?
Your co-workers, or even your employer. This applies to the very foundations of our democracy. America was built by neighbors helping neighbors, and regardless of how hard the task or difficult the condition,
oh my God,
when Americans come together, we get stuff done. At least we used to. Lately, it seems like the folks in Washington can't even agree on what day of the week it is, much less pass legislation.
Y'all read the caption? In Washington, they can't even agree on what. Let me stop.
That actually helps people like me and you back home. We used to talk to each other, but somewhere along the way, we lost that. My name is Tim Lewis. I'm a businessman, former educator, and Marine, and I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress to show us how to be neighbors again. When I decided to serve our country, it wasn't for red or blue. It was for you. It was for our country. And that's the way politics should be. People over party, country.
Ladies and people who identify as non-men, or GNC folk, if you ever think about running, you're really passionate about running, run. If you're ever passionate about running for office, seeking office, getting involved, run. Have the courage and confidence of a man to run.
Over party. For far too long, the needs of our friends, families, and neighbors have been met with empty promises by the politicians that we send to Washington. You deserve better. The Low Country needs better. And this is our chance to elect better. It's time to send someone to Washington that understands your kitchen table issues and can actually get stuff done and not just say they will. As a Marine, I gave an oath to serve all Americans. And as your congressman, that's exactly what I'll do. I grew up on a farm, served our country. I've worked in Fortune 100 corporations, and I've even started my own business. I'm no stranger to hard.
Seems like a nice man, very nice. I want to be serious and sincere. Seemed like a very nice man with an accomplished, an accomplished life, business, and a veteran.
Work and friends, we have a lot of hard work to do right here in the Low Country.
I just don't know why they got him in that room. It was cinder block walls, like he in a bunker. And then the shelf is not finished right here. This stuff matters. Is this a shredder back here? This stuff matters.
here in the local.
And not applying no anti-black, no respectability lens. I'm talking about just basic, like just basic positioning. Like I'm not being hypercritical for shits and giggles, right? I'm not. I'm just pointing out things that distract me as a prospective voter. If I don't know, and I don't know him, this is the first time I'm meeting this person.
Country. Together, we're going to fight to grow our economy and our small businesses, repair our roads and bridges, and protect the marshes and wetlands that make the Low Country so special. We're going to prepare our workforce for a global economy by investing in our schools and our students.
And then like a lot of the B-roll is real white, like no shade. A lot of B-roll is white people leading and working.
Because investing in education means that we're investing in the future of our children and our country.
Evelyn in the chat, Evelyn, you just dropped a gem. You said this whole I started my own business thing being held up all the time as proof of something for public office. Literally anyone can start. Literally, look at me in my hockey sweater. Literally, right? Like. Yo, I can incorporate. I can do littlemamaart.com right now. Incorporate it. Nicole, I know you already had your own business, right? Literally, it's not a magic trick, right? It's not.
And yes, we're going to get through this pandemic together.
Yes, Joni.
If you're tired of the same old.
It is too dark, little mama. It's too dark in there. It look like, okay, hurricane evacuation. We still got to film.
Washington, and you're ready to get stuff done, then join me. And together, let's be neighbors again. It's time for Congress to start representing people.
And then the music scoring, my RIP, my eardrum, the scoring's a little high. So when they mix the sound, and I ain't a great mixer myself, but when they mix the sound, for me at least, with headphones on, the scoring is just the crescendo, the Superman's coming to save you from your hurricane bunker.
Like me.
Like me.
Like me. Like me.
Like me.
Like me.
And so somebody who's had to like really thread audio together when I didn't know I still don't know everything about mixing sound and editing podcasts and stuff. When I would try to cover up something, I would use background music. Like if there was like a beep or a buzzing or white noise in the back that I could not figure out how to isolate and quiet, I would use music as a way to obscure that. And you kind of heard it right there when they did the people right there, because they don't have any lapel mics on. So the person who filmed, again, not applying anti-black, like ultra rigid respectability shit here. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. Actually, if it was imperfect and it was supposed to be imperfect, like it would have been better. But like, so there's no lapel mic on these people, so there's a lot of background noise.
Like me.
Like me. Like me.
Like me.
Like me.
So you get in the traffic. And it's just, shout out to Tim. I don't know Tim Lewis like that. It doesn't seem like anyone is shedding more light on who he is here. But then when I go to his website, right here, when I go to his website, it gives you more. Okay, look, black people. What are my black people in the chat? Joni, I know you here. Let me see. Brandon, you here? Y'all know how look, I ain't trying to trip. Look, I'm being real. Strategist hat, political operative hat. It's Tim Lewis for Congress.com. If y'all looking for it. This read like a funeral. This read like a funeral program. And as someone who's unfortunately had to write a couple, may we all stand as the body is. Let me stop. So it says Tim has called Harleyville, South Carolina home since he was 4 years old, except for 3 years in elementary school. Tim is the son of Bernard and Georgiana Kofu and grandson of Reverend Alonzo Johnson Sr., Julia Coburn Johnson, all pillars, Upper Dorchester County, and that's what's up. All pillars of the Upper Dorchester County community. They instilled in him the importance of education, public service, and a solid work ethic. Raised and nurtured by his grandparents while in Harleyville, Tim excelled academically and athletically at Harleyville Ridgefield High School. And so while at HR, Tim served as student council. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there was a story here on ABC News, WCIV, ABC News. Y'all know it's a Sinclair station. I always feel it's important to say that. But I got the video. The campaign video is literally posted on WCBD's YouTube page. Check them out. TimLewisForCongress.com. I'm going to stop being a kid. I can't stop being a kid. Let me see what y'all said. Let's be neighbors again. That's a nice statement. It did sound like MAGA to me. I felt like where we go one, we go all, a little bit, not a lot, but like a little bit, not, around the edges. Little mama, you said, yeah, there's a lot of get back to the good old days. And he definitely talks about the good old days in that About Me page. Yeah. No, I'm going to have to switch to Quentin. All right, I'm going to be nice. Don't do that. I wasn't trying to be mean, too mean. Oh shit. I didn't mean to, I'm going to be nice. I wanted to pull that page back up real quick. Where'd it go? Here we go. And in that page, they got links to the website. Right. Here we go. And there was something. Oh, so I was trying to figure out his political affiliation, right? Because I'm like, just because you're black, I know that doesn't mean that you are a Democrat, right? So I couldn't find it. And I read the story. They mentioned Dr. Annie Andrews in the story because they're both going against Mace. And it was, let me see, was it the About page? Yeah, here. There's this like montage down here. Somebody evoked the name of Joe Cunningham. So Joe Cunningham is here. I don't know who these other folks are. There's some pictures of him, how he grew up. Dorchester County Career and Technology Center. Him at the pothole with boots on. I guess it's a pothole or infrastructure. So I was just like, he's a Democrat. Right? So he's a Democrat, right? Right? Okay. Just got a little word, little text about that. Okay. Won't say nothing. Okay. Is there a strong presence of military recruiters in Dorchester? Ooh, that's a good question. So he's running for I'm sorry, I buried the lead. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Harleyman, businessman, former Marine will compete for Nancy Mace's House seat in 2022. Tim Lewis is billing himself as a new leader with a new vision on his in his bio. New leader with new vision. In his bio on the website, Lewis said he's a former officer in Marine Corps, University of South Carolina graduate, businessman who worked Fortune 100 companies. But yeah, and then they mentioned, it says Lewis is the latest candidate to announce the bid. So because I'm assuming that I had to assume he's a Democrat because the word Democrat is not even in here. But yeah, we know the Republican opposition to Mace. I haven't gone person by person in great detail, but we know that. So yeah, that's there. So yeah, he's running. Yeah, he's running. Well, he's gonna try to prime. He's gonna prime. See, so part of my So part of my smirky and my being silly stuff and being kind of critical. Some of that is informed by why are you doing this. All right, it makes it to your point. So I can probably be more precise and a little less, what's the word I like? Tangy. I'm not nasty. I'm tangy. You know, I fire up them taste buds sometimes. You know what I mean? No. So my thing is like, why are you when you decide to prime it, when there's a strong candidate there, right? Your camp, supposedly you have a camp that's helping you weigh decisions about viability. Right? Like, do I have a viable campaign? Will I be able to raise enough money to run this campaign? Unless you're in an insurgency situation, unless it's an insurgency situation where you're just running to platform your ideals and your values and whatnot, right? But there should be a team meeting about, okay, is this viable? All right, who's out there? Who's announced? What does the field look like? And so some of my key and all that is like this. You gotta have like you gotta have cojones, ovaries, mammaries. You gotta have big balls. They're like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw my hat in the ring months after a very strong candidate that's racking up the money and fundraising. Supposedly, I don't know what's been disclosed or what's been reported yet. If it has been, you hear it. So some of that is that, right? I hear you, Mexi. I got you, but Nicole, I mean, it doesn't say Democrat, but I'm assuming. I honestly don't know. I even tried to look him up on Ballotpedia and I couldn't find, because Ballotpedia break it down, and because he hasn't run for office before, there's nothing. So I don't know if but he's pictured with Joe Cunningham. I don't know. But I guess the press has put him next to Annie Andrews, so I guess it's a primary. So. Couldn't find any FEC. Look at y'all. Look at you. FEC filing. Go ahead, y'all. Yeah. So it did. So some of that little snickering is like, dude, what you doing? Like if you gonna come out and now if the timing against the candidate, like let's make it make sense, dog. Like that's my whole snickering and that and all that other stuff. Okay, so let's just follow up to the story about the statue, and then we're gonna switch to bell hooks abruptly. This is just about the statue. Shout out to Regina with the Pay As You Go Cafe, Destiny Cafe. Looks like she got some help, but we're not gonna cover that. We're gonna cover the statue. I didn't watch this yet, so we'll see.
Also, city leaders have voted to send a controversial monument to California for a national art exhibition. We're talking about the John C. Calhoun statue. News 2's Lexi Moore listened into tonight's History Commission meeting, and Lexi, now it's up to council to decide what happens with that statue.
Yeah, that's right, Brendan. The statue of the pro-slavery former vice president was removed from Marion Square last summer after
B-Man, for real? No donate button? Oh, he's a Democratic. Look at y'all. Keep dropping information in the chat. Cause no donate button, which is weird. So also too, like, you don't want to like, as much as I criticize the Democrats, y'all understand, like, I'm criticizing it not to destroy it, right? I'm criticizing it to hopefully push them to be better, show up stronger, show up more balanced. And so the other part of doing that is making sure other Democrats, like, y'all get what game we playing. We trying to actually go for this seat, and you don't need no and she might breeze through it. If her social media strategy is any indication, she might breeze through it, right? But it still doesn't mean that causes some sort of. It doesn't look like a unified party. It doesn't look unified. It doesn't look like everyone's on the same page, kind of thing. That's just a really overly simplified analysis.
The civil unrest following the death of George Floyd. And tonight, after an hour and a half of debating multiple motions, the commission has voted to send the Calhoun statue to California.
Okay.
Almost a year and a half later, and the John C. Calhoun statue may find its home more than 3,000 miles away in Los Angeles.
To take it from the dark place, the sunken place, but to put it in a place where it will be joined by others.
The city of Charleston's History Commission is moving.
Who is that saying it's the sunken place? Come on. We gotta go, yeah.
In the next steps of exhibiting the Calhoun statue in 2023 at Lax Art, a nonprofit visual arts space that showcases key issues of racism our society has faced.
Little Mama road trip. Let's get a Sprinter van, y'all. Let's go get a Sprinter van. Road trip.
We'd like to extend that same level of participation and cooperation to the city of Charleston.
The History Committee debated for weeks on whether or not to send the statue because of the context of how it will be presented to the public. And some committee members disagree with moving the statue due to the political agenda they fear would be shown at the exhibit.
The remaining light of honor and respect should not be extinguished by subjecting Calhoun to further ridicule in the form of a distant or traveling show.
What we have never done, however, is jeopardize our position as honest.
Ridicule, bruh. Calhoun played himself, bruh. Like, what are you talking? What are you talking? I know I gotta hurry to get the bell hooks. This is.
Light of honor and respect should not be extinguished by subjecting Calhoun to further ridicule in the form of a distant or traveling show.
What we have never done, however, is jeopardize our position as honest brokers of Charleston's history.
Other committee members say it's the Low Country's responsibility to educate the public about the history of who Calhoun was.
This man was responsible for the deaths of thousands and thousands of African American people.
These museums can be places of healing, of restoration, of learning, and of experience.
Michael Allen. Okay.
Charleston City Council will now vote to approve their recommendation on sending the statue most likely at their next January council meeting. Reporting live in studio, I'm Lexi Moore, Channel 2.
Oh my gosh, further ridicule. What? Yeah. All right, now we can do the stuff that I want to do. All right, we're going to lift up the life and legacy of the illustrious Bell Hooks. We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about the complicated parts of her legacy. We're going to talk about as much as I can. And we're going to get into it.
The influential critic, author, and feminist Bell Hooks died today at the age of 69. She was at home surrounded by friends and family. Amna is back with a look at her work and her legacy.
Born Gloria Jean Watkins, Bell Hooks grew up in segregated Kentucky in the 1950s and 60s. The daughter of a janitor and a maid, Hooks left home to attend Stanford University, where she earned an English degree. She went on to earn a PhD and then authored more than 30 works under her pen name, which was taken from her great-grandmother. Her prolific writing spanned poetry, essays, and children's books, examining the intersection of race, politics, and gender, and making her one of the most influential Black feminist scholars of the last half-century. In 2004, Hooks returned to Kentucky to teach at Berea College and later founded the Bell Hooks Institute there. Here to talk more about her life and its impact is Imani Perry.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there to kind of to help with the awkward transition from Calhoun and our desire to have that shit melted down. I want to transition a little awkwardly, but that's what we do here. It really was important for me to honor Bell Hooks because of what the work has meant to me ever since undergrad. I graduated with a degree in poli-sci, but I also studied English and creative writing, and it's so many Black feminists. There were so many Black feminists that I became acquainted to in undergrad way back when, and of course more in my adult life as I build out my own library, both here and the one in storage on Johns Island. Bell Hooks' work is just it's foundational, I guess, to a lot of the work that I do here in Charleston, and I've learned so much more about her in recent years than I did because I guess I've always just engaged with her through the written word that was at the library versus more dynamic interviews. I didn't seek out a lot of interviews on Bell Hooks. I just like to read her work, her writing, and watch the evolution. But I've learned so much about her and the evolution of her thought process and everything. So I thought it was, and this is real too. Part of also the reason we're choosing the book, shout out to Lil Mama again for gifting me a copy, but choosing the book for January's book club was about not just collecting white women, right? I'm not in the collecting white women business. I am in the let's look at why there's a lack of real, true, deep solidarity among Black women and white women, at the whole, right? And part of that question asking is also creating an opportunity where maybe the people who participate in the book club, they can talk about who other feminist theorists that they haven't given a second shot at. They haven't looked at, looking at your library. Is it what's the canon? What does your personal canon look like? Is it predominantly white woman? Is it all Gloria Steinem and not and no bell hooks and no Barbara Smith, and I can go on and on, right? And so hopefully this will encourage a lot of white women followers and white women viewers, white women who consume this content and however they get it. Hopefully this will encourage you to understand the breadth and the depth of Black feminist theory and thought that comes from Black women from the South. That's important. So that's why I just wanted to lift that up.
She's the Hughes Rogers Professor of African American Studies at Princeton University. Professor Perry, welcome to the NewsHour. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
You reacted to the passing of Bell Hooks on Twitter by sharing this thought. You wrote, "For exactly 30 years, she was not only an intellectual influence, but a presence in my life." Professor Perry, tell us about the impact that Bell Hooks had on you.
Well, I met her when I was 19 years old. I was an intern at South End Press, where she published much of her work, and she was a teacher to her core, even though I didn't have her in the classroom. She brought ideas alive. She is a person who bridged the space between, high critical theory, European scholars and intellectuals, Marxist thinkers, and everyday life. And she wrote and spoke in a way to make all of that theory applicable to our daily lives. And also, she wanted it to bear upon the way we thought of each other ethically, our relationships, our personal stories. So she was both an intellectual, and she was also a kind of, a curate, like a person who tended to souls as an educator. And so to be brought under her wing as a teenager was incredibly influential. It allowed me to imagine how to live a life of the mind, but also how to pursue, right relation to other human beings in my midst.
That part.
So as we mentioned, she was born Gloria Jean Watkins. She took the pen name Bell Hooks, which was her great-grandmother's name. What do we know about why she took that name, and why all lowercase when she used it?
Yeah, I mean, it was consistent with leftist organizers of the era to think of the individual in the lowercase, that one spoke in the collective, right? So her name was both an homage to her great-grandmother and the women who came before, but also was a kind of humility to choose the lowercase. And, she was very much, she traveled the world. She had a massive influence. She was a Southern country woman to her core.
Yes.
And she'd never lost touch with that, and so there was a kind of intimacy with that identity that she held on to through her pen name, as it were. But I always called her Gloria.
And she mentioned those Southern roots, growing up at the intersection of racism and sexism. She actually spoke about it in this 2016 talk at St. Norbert College in Wisconsin. Take a listen to what she said.
Ooh.
I think that many of us as females find sexism is so normalized, whereas people of color, Black, brown, whatever, when we hear a racist joke or racism spoken not as a joke, we really feel assaulted in our sensibilities. But sexism is such a woven into the fabric of our daily lives that I think it's harder for people to resist.
Professor Perry, how did that lived experience show up in her work?
Well, she told a lot of stories from her own life. She in many ways was an open book. She allowed herself to be vulnerable.
Very much.
And she contemplated, so the way that she engaged with people, and she was...
I really resisted the urge to pause this because there's so many little gems and nuggets of amazingness. Also, the chirons being blocked. Imani Perry is an amazing scholar and author, but below it says Imani Perry, Professor of African American Studies at Jersey's own Princeton University. but I resisted the urge to stop this. But that her vulnerability, like when you look at, and we're gonna look at some old C-SPAN from like the 90s, which I really love. I just love the look of like archival videos, right? She speaks so openly about love in these really relatable ways, but at the same time, it's so advanced. Like her thoughts on love, and it's really helped me show up as a woman who does identify as a feminist, as a Black woman feminist. It's helped me show up, and well, it's encouraged me. I've kind of failed over the past couple of years in embodying her some of her teachings. But it's really helped me be a little bit more understanding of men and masculinity. I would say specifically with my father, right? Because my father was born in 1939. I don't really need to say no more about that, right? In terms of like generationally, his views on women and womanhood are just really like challenging for me. But and through all of what I've been through as a, just growing up with my father wasn't always easy. And so healing that relationship, a lot of that was supported by a lot of what was espoused or written. A lot of what came from Bell Hooks and her work on masculinity and toxic masculinity and sexism and misogyny is, to me, so profound. And if you really want to talk about misogyny, get out the Me Too, and no shade to Me Too, get out Me Too and all that, and really dig into some Bell Hooks, and especially when she's talking directly to men, because that's interesting. To ear hustle in that conversation is really illuminating, if that makes any sense.
She was outspoken and she could be really challenging, was to open that up, to explore those questions of internalized sexism, yes, internalized classism. How do we love each other? I mean, so that kind of exploration that was consistent with who she was. And for me, it allowed me to think all of the sort of academic things I was pursuing, they boiled down to the very core about how we are going to live and how we're going to coexist on this planet, right? That's who she was.
It has been 4 decades since her first full-length book, Ain't I a Woman, was published. And you have to note that a lot of the ideas she brought up back then about Black women and feminism and white feminism and the intersection of race and sex and all of these things, we're still talking about those things and grappling with them today. What do you think the legacy of those ideas that she raised 4 decades ago is today?
Well, I think her legacy is enormous, and part of this incredible body of work that she created, the legacy that's found is there's so many young people, the first time they start to think seriously about class, about sexuality, about gender, about identity, about vulnerability, about spirituality is through her work. Her work has never gone out of press. That Ain't I a Woman you can still purchase, yep, right? And so the legacy is actually in all of us who have been influenced by her work, not just in academia, in every sector of the society, in organizing and nonprofit worlds and corporate America. And so, it really she has shaped several generations of thinkers and of people who are members of communities. And so I hope that at this moment, it becomes a time for us to reflect on how much she helped us think, how much she helped us grow, right? And how she pushed the world closer to justice.
Mm-hmm. An incredible life and an enormous loss. Professor Imani Perry, Hughes Rogers Professor of African American Studies at Princeton University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's just so powerful. I wanted to just kind of let that rock without much interruption. Just really meaningful work. I wanted to visit, look at this mess. I wanted to visit, I know I had something else pulled up. I wanted to take a look at some of her, what would you call them? I'm going to start off spicy. I'm gonna start off spicy. And then we're going to maybe listen to her speak directly. Listen to a little bit like this piece in the New Yorker. Here, they republished it. This was so David Remnick republished it yesterday. What's that? Okay, and it was an interview with Bell Hooks, so you can hear her voice. But we're gonna hear her voice. We're gonna start off spicy. So this is an older Jezebel piece from 2014. So as I'm relocating to South Carolina from Philly, I remember I was in the kitchen at my parents' house on Wamala. right? And I remember just listening. I was streaming like somebody's whatever, WNYC, somebody's NPR, WHYY, could have been anything, Channel 13, New Jersey, and they were just talking about like bell hooks and this comment. This is what bell hooks. Bell hooks called Beyonce a terrorist, y'all. And I remember, like, I shared it on Facebook. I remember my sister-in-law, shout out Angela in Chicago. She responded to it. She had a response to it as well. And so I just want to read a little bit from this, and then we're gonna watch you can see it on YouTube. Watch her break it down. And like a lot of people came at her neck for this, and not just this, a lot of voices are critical of how she approaches toxic masculinity, how she creates a space, how she created a space for Black men to unpack their misogynist values, chauvinism, all of that. A lot of people felt like she let Black men or let men off the hook, and even I struggled with that. And then I had to sit with it and looking at my own experiences with men in my life, men in my family, in those relationships. And I'm like, you kind of have to meet. I kind of got it. I got where she was going to. I might not have always agreed with everything, but I kind of got how she did it. I think there's a way for you to look, something so toxic and so destructive. And if you're willing to try to go in there and tame this beast that is the patriarchy, it's gonna require a level of finesse. So I don't necessarily think she let men off the hook, but I get why some folks criticized her. And then when she said this about Beyonce, it kind of deepened people's animus or deepen people's, I guess, doubt or whatever it is, like, or maybe deepen their positions on her views on feminism. But I think I think when it comes to feminism, she's like, don't even try it. Don't even try to like question her on that. But let me just read a little bit of this, and then we're gonna hop to because this is a visual medium. I'm gonna hop to the YouTube video of what she said. It says Beyonce has become a lightning rod. Again, this is from May of 2014. Beyonce has become a lightning rod yet again, and this time she's attracted the unfiltered attention of critical thinker and author Bell Hooks. During a new school discussion called "You Are Still a Slave: Liberating the Black Female Body," with trans author Janet Mock, Free Angela, who created the Free Angela Davis documentary. Oh no, I'm saying it wrong. Rewind, Mika Reed. All right, Beyonce's become a lightning rod yet again, and this time she's attracted the unfiltered attention of critical thinker and author Bell Hooks during a new school discussion called "Are You Still a Slave? Liberating the Black Female Body," with trans author Janet Mock, Free Angela Davis documentary director Shola Lynch, and author Marcy Blackman. Hooks, in short, called the pop singer a terrorist. So it was based on this right here. It was a response to this cover of Beyonce. Let's see if they're gonna let me show it. God, so many ads. Where's the cover? It's the Time magazine cover of they just linked to the article. It's the Time magazine cover. Let me see if it gives it. Where Beyonce kind of is like, this is not it. Beyonce was like, I don't even want to say scantily clad. That's so like fucking, like, not the language. But Beyonce was she had like little shorts on. Well, Belle actually talked about it. I remember her actually talking about it. Jesus. All right, so let's click on it. I get y'all trying to sell these things, y'all, but come on. Hold on one second. I'm acting like I ain't watched this thing before a couple times. Janet Mock, new school. All right, here we go.
Is that the wrong?
So let me see if I can find it. Oh, this is gonna be the hard part. Is the terrorist part? and I had it.
To discourage you, and when it got to where they were going through my hair, like, what is possibly hidden up there in my hair? But then you realize that it's just about making you have a hard time to be who you are, making you, and it's true, it worked. For a while, I just felt dreading of travel. Like, what is it going to be this time? And then, you know, travel has no humor, because I was traveling with Gloria Steinem, and
let's see if we can get to it. Hold on.
Around in hotels, and, you know, white men are
I literally had it up earlier.
saying sexual stuff. The men who stood behind me as I was checking in, I'm reminded of the fact that for so many years, black female bodies were not allowed in hotels because the assumption was that we could only be there for one reason, which is prostitution. So that thinking about the black, freeing the black body, I mean, I think part of our intellectual, academic, critical exercise is how do we free ourselves from those images to claim a different set of imaging. And I apologize, I was going to buy it and bring it. The Time magazine that has Beyonce on the cover.
I looked up. Okay, got it. Ooh, good guess, Mika. All right, here we go. Let me see what you said in the chat. Good morning, D. You said good morning to Nicole. I was so sad to hear about her passing. Absolutely.
Exercise is how do we free ourselves from those images to claim a different set of imaging. And I apologize, I was going to buy it and bring it.
Listen.
The Time magazine that has Beyonce on the cover, because one could deconstruct for days that first she's looking kind of like a deer in headlights.
I'll pull it up.
And she's wearing the little panty and bra set, you know, that some of us wore like when we were 10 or 12. And I'm thinking, isn't this interesting that she's being supposedly held up as one of the most important people in our nation?
Like, this is like, I think we can literally have this conversation better now than we could at that moment. We had to catch up. Because I honestly think now, I don't know about calling her a terrorist, but I guess that's the word that's getting everybody, like, chafes everybody. But this, like, think about it. You're a black woman. You're an icon. You're a legend in the making, Beyonce 2014. And you're being lauded as being the most influential woman or artist or whatever. And you're the image you choose, even though women should have the right to choose and everything like that. But I think it does warrant a conversation around, well, why show up in like a bra and panty? To you know, why have that be the featured image for this type of distinguished honor, supposedly distinguished honor, right? Yeah.
In the world, and yet why did they image her? I mean, she's not glam on the cover of Time magazine. What is that cover meant to say about the black female body?
I'm gonna just let it run again so you can, and I'm gonna find the image.
Only be there for one reason, which is prostitution. So that thinking about the black, freeing the black body, I mean, I think part of our intellectual, academic, critical exercise is how do we free ourselves from those images to claim a different set of imaging. And I apologize, I was going to buy it and bring it. The Time magazine that has Beyonce on the cover, because one could deconstruct for days that first she's looking kind of like a deer in headlights, and she's wearing the little panty and bra set, you know, that some of us wore like when we were 10 or 12. And I'm thinking, isn't this interesting that she's being supposedly held up as one of the most important people in our nation, in the world, and yet why did they image her? I mean, she's not glam on the cover of Time
Right, it's not a lot of glam.
What is that cover meant to say about the black female body?
Versus like this cover, or I don't know if this is fake. I don't know, right? So it's not going to get a lot of applause, right? I would love to hear some thoughts. I know maybe I would love to hear some thoughts from people in the chat, but it's interesting. It's interesting.
People see that cover and were you surprised?
You know, there's a term that that I discovered, I can't remember, in college or graduate school that is so relevant these days. It's a feminist term for media studies, and it was called Symbolic Annihilation. And yes, Symbolic Annihilation, and it is two things. It's Gay Tuchman, who wrote about it. Somebody correct me if they know. Hearth and Home, and it was a book, a compilation of essays about women's representation in the media in the 70s, in the late 70s. And Symbolic Annihilation is two things. It's one, not seeing yourself, but it's also seeing yourself only denigrated, victimized, etc., and what that does to you. And I think that, you know, we can talk about all the things that denigrate us.
So the panelists, for those who didn't catch, again, this is from 2014. Thank you, B-Man, for repeating it for me. This is the new school. This, to me, it was fairly popular, so I assumed too much that y'all wouldn't be familiar. I read a little bit from. Let me see if they list the panelists here. I don't know who was speaking at what time. I can't remember all of that. But if you go to the YouTube, as Janet Mock is sitting next to Bell Hooks, and then I don't remember whose name was who. There's Marcy Blackman here, and then the woman that created the documentary on Angela Davis, film director Shola Lynch. So again, you can go to YouTube and get the details on that, but I don't know. I don't have the names committed to memory outside of Janet Mock.
But I'd rather shift the camera, shift my gaze, and look for the images and the people and the places that feed me. And I really do think, you talked about children. I really do think that the more we create our culture, all our cultural images, the books you write, the films I make, the alternatives, that these are artifacts that live, and they speak to people whether we're there or not. Bodies of work, and that is critical. So I want to just give one example. My daughter, she's 4, right? I've been she's never known me not working on the Angela Davis film, which took 8 years, right? So she was so excited when
I don't know if I don't think it has anything to do with sex negativity, Evelyn. I read so there was some other things that I read. This is interesting. I want to have this conversation, and I want us to not, and I'm not arguing to convince. I'm speaking to just share, but I'm not arguing against anything. Bell Hooks talked about this. I can't remember if it was Rock My Soul or something else about the male gaze, right? There's something about being beholden to the male gaze and shifting that. And also that's me saying that. And I think that this person right here just alluded to some of that shifting of the gaze, right? I think that what Bell Hooks has always asserted, at least in her writing, was that when we started to, when the women's rights movement, I guess of the late 60s, 70s and whatnot, out of that came this hypersexuality, right? And I get the whole owning of your sexuality as well, because there's some criticism and pushback that even I now have with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion. But what I've seen, thanks for the sub. Yeah, thanks. Okay, all right. Yeah, so I think what she questioned was why with some of the feminists within the feminist movement there was an emphasis on sex and like, okay, women owning their sexuality is important, but there was like an element of it where women had to demonstrate or felt compelled to constantly center their nudity or their sexuality in a way that felt like it was speaking to the male gaze and not doing what it was intended to do, right? I don't know if isn't Bell's point that specific image isn't glamour, right? Or reclaiming powerful sexuality with the outfit design. I think that's an element of it, Justin. Appreciate that. Yeah, but Evelyn, you said you love that Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B are flipping that kind of stuff on its head. You can be powerful and sexy. You can be powerful and scantily clad. That's true. I don't think so. She's doing media. So Bell Hooks occupies a space where she criticized women's images in media. So it is a broader conversation I think that's what they're having, a broader conversation. It's not the stylist, it's the decision, it's the editorial decision that, of course, Beyonce, let me let it continue to play because I think they talk about it in there. But I don't go at this is sex negative. I don't arrive at that. I think that you can moderate that. I think there is, in that whole sex positive, let me let it play, because I don't want to misspeak.
When I could show her the trailer. And my son was excited too, but she was particularly excited. The trailer's like 2 minutes long, and she watched that trailer over and over.
That part, little drummer friend. Do you maybe mean the performance of sexuality is just a response to the previous like closeting of sexuality? Like there was a performative. There's a performative quality to some of the sex positive. Either messaging. To me, there still is an exhibitionist element to it that isn't inherently bad, or like I just don't get its value, and sometimes I don't always get it. Like the Free the Nipple campaign in New York City, still don't get it. I can read as much as I want on that, but when was it Demi Moore, her daughter, was walking around New York City topless and whatnot. As a white woman, number one, white women can do that, right? And then there's a part of this that black women, and I don't know, Evelyn, are you taking into account what she said about black women's bodies in certain spaces? So I'm not speaking for her, but let me speak for me. My embracing of my sexuality is gonna look a lot different from Demi Moore's daughter freeing a nipple in New York and going shopping without a bra, without a shirt, topless. Right, like so. A part of this whole sex positivity, and body positive, like some of this is doesn't translate to a person in this body. So let me let it play instead of like looking here reading.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she had a favorite line when Angela said, "It's genocide." I was like, "That's my girl," right?
Right. So we're gonna keep watching it.
She loved going, "That's Angela's mom." So she created Angela's family and a sense of community just by watching this thing over and over again. But that's not what I wanted to share. So she's a little girl. She wants to be a princess.
It was same facade, but it's still like a black like there was a quality of it that to me was performative. Like I get it. I get what you're saying, but there were women participating in it who were not breastfeeding. And like, I just don't get it. I don't know. I'm not even arguing. I don't know why I sound like I'm arguing. I just don't get it. And black women can, like, our bodies are not treated the same in public spaces like that. And so there's a reluctance to understand the power of that type of movement, right? There's a reluctance to understand how this could impact, at least from the black woman perspective. But anyway, let me stopping it. I'm gonna stop stopping it.
It's blonde and poofy. And
I'll get to it. Hold on, we'll have a conversation, which is what I wanted.
She woke up one morning and her hair was all out, just like big out,
right,
out. And usually
that's a good
like,
one.
Oh, Mom, my
that's a good one.
Puffy. It needs to. And this morning, after watching the trailer over and over and over again, she said, "I have Angela Davis hair." So I thought I was making this political crime drama with a love story at the center, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was also making another image for young people to see and to perhaps relate to. And I was blown away. Because I can tell her she's beautiful all day long. I'm her mom, doesn't count. But no, it doesn't. So the more we create the alternative universe, which then becomes the universe.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, I don't write children's books, but I do in my novels, in my books, and my characters are the people who I grew up seeing every day, who I don't see, not just in literature. I don't see them on TV. I was raised by really strong women. I was raised by my great aunts and my grandmothers and my mother, and who, without fail, to a person, allowed me to chart my own path through the world, and were there to support me in that and make sure that I didn't do anything to hurt other people or to that was adverse in that way. But they were there, and they weren't there in the worlds that I was inhabiting when I would go to the library and read, and they weren't there. So I decided I want to
honor these the other contributors to the conversation, but I also want to get to like Bell Hooks' response to some of what they're saying.
Witnessing from a distance, but taking no action on her behalf, because I feel like we have to.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure we get.
It's not just like the Beyonce cover. It's not just about denigration. It's also about Black women are supposed to be childlike and children.
This is another part of the conversation.
Taken care of or bossed around, and this is in the eyes of other people, you know? And so I feel like the little girl's clothing and the little girls is, let's make this very powerful woman a little girl, you know? I just saw
A little girl we can lust after.
Yes.
A little girl we can prey upon. A little girl that can be Woody Allen's daughter taken up into the attic and sexually abused with people witnessing from a distance but taking no action on her behalf. Because I feel like we have to draw those connections of our enslaved Black female body to the enslaved Black female bodies of all girls, all colors, with that predatory gaze. But it's interesting to think about, let's take the image of this super rich, very powerful Black female, and let's use it in the service of imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy.
Come on.
Because
it's interesting. It's thought-provoking.
She probably had very little control over that cover, that image.
I think she had control over what she wore. I know that she hires the stylist who's been with her for a long time. They've developed probably that look for that specific cover. I think she, and I would argue that she has the power now, like having worked in magazines, that she has final cut approval.
She does.
And she chose this image. And so I don't want to strip Beyonce
of her agency
of choosing this image, of being her own manager, of all of this stuff.
But then you're saying then, though, from my deconstructive point of view, that she's colluding in the construction of herself.
So how much? Sometimes there are aspects of feminist. I'm in feminist spaces where, or I'm in Black spaces, Black spaces that are building toward Black liberation. I'm in spaces where, like, you see people like where there are thoughts and ideas that emerge that to me feel like we're aiding in our own demise, right? I'm not saying that about Beyonce and how she uses her image, but there is like there's a level of decision making sometimes where some of the leaders in that space don't understand how maybe we're becoming complicit in the very thing we're trying to fight. And I think that that's a valid question to raise. If she did have final say on the image, if she did have final say on what was going to be on the cover, what informed that decision, right? Why show up? And I do want to keep letting that play, but I also, so just looking at and I'm not going to stay stuck on this one thing. This is the other thing too. I don't want to stay stuck on this one incendiary comment. But I do like that it's thought provoking, and I like that we have different perspectives. I'm not really, just different perspectives on this issue. And I honestly, my feminist values are very different from a lot of people who I'm in community with, a lot different. And so, because I'm a Black woman and I'm, Black woman with my perspective and my journey, but just knowing like, this is a beautiful cover. Of course, I would have bought it. It's one of those covers I would have bought, and because there's tons of covers I have here of magazines that I love, that I would have like coveted and saved as a keepsake. It's a beautiful cover, but I like the fact that we think about it more deeply about the most influential, one of the most influential people, entertainers being featured here, and then certain decisions that were made. But I don't think, Evelyn, to your early point, that being sexy or like wearing a bikini type outfit, I don't think that disqualifies you from being a person, an influential person or nothing like that. But I love the fact that she interrogates that. And I think what I'm trying to do here is more so not just argue and challenge Bell, which we can do that. But I guess what I'm trying to do is like that thought process is so, it ignites so much. And I like to lift that up. I like that it causes conflict. We know that conflict is not inherently harmful. It can be generative. And I like that that's what's also showing up in the chat as well. Yeah, I get that. It's yeah. But moreover too, I see your comments there. I want to go back to that Jezebel piece that kind of, I think, attempts to break it down too. So after she made the comments, I'm gonna read this Jezebel part, and then we're gonna move on to some of the other thoughts and thinking of bell hooks, because I really do want to not get stuck there because there's so much there that I can get stuck. All right, so we read that part. I read it very sloppily. Let me see. Did they cut me off? Did they cut me off? Did I do too many searches and like? Did they? Like, hey, you hit this tab like 6 times this morning. No, this ain't even an article. Here we go. Okay, what this person, this is Hillary Crosley. Shout out, I know that she does a lot of content with Genius, or she created Genius, the music video. I don't know what this is. Sorry, y'all. I have no clue. Oh my God. I don't know why it's playing. I don't know. Sorry. All right, y'all can still hear me, right? I just muted it real quick. I just muted it. All right, so Beyonce has become a lightning rod yet again. We talked about the panel composition, right? So at the end it says that Bell Hooks called Beyonce a terrorist. For first some context, Bell Hooks and the gang were discussing Beyonce's recent Time magazine cover, where Hooks said the singer probably didn't have much control and agency choosing her outfit. Mock disagreed and told a story about how the introduction of Beyonce through Destiny's Child was very influential to her as a girl amid MTV's TRL white pop stars like Britney. And this is where I can lean into, like, so the Mock is probably of my generation, right? Growing up with, I was in college and Destiny's Child was really big. Mid TRL with white pop stars like Britney Spears, these 4 black, the Destiny's Child, these 4 black women from Houston, or were the contemporary Supremes. Here was someone she could identify with. That's what Mock said, right? Adding that she drew strength from Beyonce's Partition. That's a tricky one. Partition, as she was finishing her book. Partition is complicated for me because of the whole like Lewinsky reference, and then like that's it. I mean, Partition, redefining. So she talked about that, Janet Mock, right? But Hooks, let's get back to Hooks. But Hooks was not impressed. I love it. There's a clip. This is what I wanted to play right there. All right. But she wasn't impressed. She responded to Mock saying, then are you saying that from my destructive point of view, that she was colluding in the construction of herself as a slave? Ooh, I think we got to get beyond shock value too in what she's saying. So Hooks said that she sees a part of Beyonce as a terrorist, especially in terms of the impact on young girls. She went on to explain that the major assault on feminism in our society has come from a visual media. This is the part about the media part. Okay, this has come from a visual media and television and videos, right? To continue her point, and by Beyonce ascribing to a dominant standard of beauty in photos, like the one on her Time magazine cover, right? Saying that she's part of the problem of women being encouraged to uphold impossible beauty standards. So that's really deep. All right, in the chat, let me see. Joni says, I tend to stay out of Beyonce conversations. Too many people. Right, that's real. And like there's people like I Heart Erica on Instagram. I don't follow her anymore. That she used to constantly, and No Name is another leftist voice, that constantly interrogate Beyonce in the spirit of Bell Hooks, interrogate Beyonce and Solange, and centering of light-skinned black women, which is something that's that comes up tangentially, I think, in that conversation with Bell Hooks. There are people who've been really, really critical, hypercritical of Beyonce, and to me, it feels a little heavy-handed. I think because she is the biggest name and she is a billionaire, I think she definitely just draws a lot of attention. And I like the fact though that she's not immune, or she's not, she can get the smoke too. She can get the feminist smoke too, I guess. Yeah, same for society. I'm ambivalent. This is how I feel. I'm ambivalent too, to a degree. I just feel like, I hear you, Joni. I just feel like she makes some bops. I'll dance. If I want to dance to Beyonce, I will. If I want to, repost something of her dressed like on the Time magazine cover, I will. But I think it's interesting. It's just thought provoking. Like it's just thought provoking to me. I don't necessarily look at it as know. I look at it very differently. I know when I first heard this shit, I was like, lost my breath. Literally lost my breath. I'm like, what? Play a little bit more, and then we're gonna transition.
A liberatory image.
Or she's using the same images that were used against her and us for so many years, and she's taking control over and that, saying, if y'all are going to make money off of it, so am I. But you know, and there is there's collusion perhaps, but there's also a bit of reclaiming. I think if she's the one,
there is always collusion. It's like when I talk about tokenism, I'm going to be tokenized. I will, like I always say, hey, black folks, black influencers, don't be a janitor for Charleston Wine and Food, because they've had this disastrous record on paying talent, paying black people, black content creators, black cultural creators. I'm always telling folks in that space and with that specific instance, don't be a janitor, right? If you are going to work for them, make sure you try to work with them, not for them. Don't be a janitor. Don't be their image janitor, right? Right. And part of that is a larger conversation about tokenism. We're all going to be tokenized. And I'm speaking from the black woman perspective. You know, sometimes the only thing we can do is negotiate for the best terms possible. So I think some of that was just asserted there. It was like, hey, maybe she is colluding in this practice, but she's also in a position where she could potentially reclaim some of that bullshit that patriarchy beats into us about, like, hey, our sexuality shouldn't be, we shouldn't control it. We shouldn't have bodily autonomy. Like, there's a part of it there too. But anyway, it's interesting. I'm gonna leave it all. I'm gonna play a little bit more, and then I'm gonna bounce out of this, and I'm gonna read B-Man's comment before I unmute. Again, Bell Hooks makes a good point about Beyonce upholding impossible beauty standards. Now that's real. And the color, I think Beyonce, again, this is 2014. I think more in recent times, Beyonce has worked really hard, at least her team has, to talk more about colorism. Like Brown Skin Girl is a song that I really enjoy. And I got emotional when I watched the video of Brown. It came out of nowhere. I got emotional. And just seeing the images of dark skin, brown skin, all kinds of shades of women being lifted up, because Beyonce is a light skinned woman. And she can do and say and ascend to certain depths, certain heights that regular women can't, or women of different sizes can't. Like Jasmine Sullivan can, just in my opinion, Jasmine Sullivan can sing Beyonce under the table. Not comparing them like apples to apples, but I just think she's a more gifted vocalist. Why isn't Jasmine Sullivan lifted up in the same position, right? And not to say she's even that dark, but she's typically full figure. I know she lost a lot of weight, she gained some back. But she's a fuller figured young girl, beautiful young girl with an amazing voice. And so like Jill Scott, another one. I'm going all Philly today. What's up? All right, but nah, that was some good points. The points make it good. And it's like I love the discourse. Like these are like you hear people like no wait, hold up wait. You've got people on the panel like hold up, wait a minute. You know what I mean? And I like that. It's something that I miss here in real life spaces.
Control, right?
Well, of course, I think that's fantasy. I think it's fantasy.
I ain't go that far now. B-Man. But I'm glad you had a positive response to it.
See that we can recoup the violating image.
And the master's tools. Tools.
I used to get so tired of people quoting Audrey, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. But that was exactly what she meant, that you are not going to destroy this imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy by creating your own version of it.
Come on.
Even if it serves you to make lots and lots of money.
That's really it. It's interesting.
Because I really been challenging people to think about, would we be at all interested in Beyonce if she wasn't so rich? Because I don't think you can separate her class power and the wealth from people's fascination with her, that here is a young black woman who is so incredibly wealthy. And wealthy is what so many young people fantasize, dream about, sexualize, eroticize. And one could argue even more than her body. It's what that body stands for. The body of desire, fulfilled, that is wealth, fame, celebrity, all the things that so many people in our culture are lusting for, wanting. I mean, let's say if Beyonce was a homeless woman who looked the same way, or a poor down and out woman who looked the same way, would people be enchanted by her? Or is it the combination of all of those things that are at the heart of imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy? And I've been saying, people of color, we are so invested in white supremacy, it's tragic.
It is.
Lorraine Hansberry says that it is the only form of extremism that should discredit us in the eyes of our children, that we remain so invested.
I'm gonna leave it right there. That's bars.
Now listen!
That's called motherfucking bars. Come on. Yeah. I really think it's a really rich discussion, and that's what I wanted to do, was just highlight, like, I love it. I love that it made y'all respond. No, Black is King was cool. I watched it. That's one of the reasons why I'm stuck with this Hulu package. This Hulu Disney Plus package. I ain't got no kids up here, but because I wanted to watch DuckTales and Black is King. I'm like, oh, I'm 40 years old. Let me watch the OG DuckTales. Yep. All right. I wanted y'all to hear Bell Hooks' voice. I really did. I think it'd be better for video. So this is old though. Just this is All About Love. So All About Love is like the biggin, right? This is the one I literally have downloaded on my phone as an audiobook, so I can kind of like hear it. This is the one that's always lifted up yesterday on Instagram. All About Love got a lot of love yesterday, and I kind of wanted to play a little bit about in that time. So around that time, I guess, of the book. So let me just read the caption from C-SPAN. This is C-SPAN, y'all. It says, Ms. Hooks spoke about her book, All About Love, New Visions, published by William Morrow. The book examines the sentimental aspects of romance, sexual urges, and details the problems that arise when the two are confused. Ms. Hooks' presentation focuses on the lack of love in the Black society today, which I think, again, another aspect of her work. I love that her work is so fucking Black. It's so fucking Black. Please excuse me for just being very, very like profane in that moment, but I mean, I'm emphatic in that this woman is a Black Southern woman, and she's broaching topics that we don't even get space to talk about, our feelings, how we interact with white supremacy, how we interact with patriarchy, right? We don't really, DuckTales, a bowl of cereal, not Kellogg's. That's right. Hold the line, Justin. All right.
Hi, my name is Chris.
Okay, after this, damn, everybody got ads.
Miracle Movers is a full service.
Even C-SPAN.
Eastern. 48 hours of nonfiction books. All weekend. Every weekend.
Can I say that the fact that ads are popping up on all these publications and all these this right here, C-SPAN, again tells you this stuff ain't cheap. Creating content is not cheap and easy, and so it needs support. It needs some sort of needs to be subsidized in some way, shape, or form. I just want to acknowledge that as a content, as a burgeoning media something.
Book TV. Next, author Bell Hooks on the subject of love. At a library in Harlem, Ms. Hooks read from her book and explored the many aspects of the subject.
Good afternoon.
Look at this. Black woman.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I love Black women. Hold up.
Good afternoon.
I said.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay.
Welcome to 115th Street Branch Library. My name is Jabu Masikela. I'm the branch librarian here at the 115th Street Branch. This afternoon, in celebration of New York is Book Country, we have the distinct pleasure of presenting to you this afternoon.
This just in. I'm about to send you something in the DMs.
On a very much talked about subject and a very much used word, and that is about
on
love.
Insta.
Ms. Bell Hooks is going to speak to us this afternoon on her titled book, All About Love, New Visions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Bell Hooks to the podium.
I'm always happy to be in Harlem because, like so many other
African American writers. So many of the people who inspired me when I first started, learning about African American writers as a girl were writing about Harlem.
I just love looking at her like this.
And it's always meaningful to be then here in Harlem talking about writing.
21 years ago.
I have to just say a little of my favorite Langston Hughes poem because it always ends with that whole thing about Harlem. I said to my baby, baby, take it slow. He said, I can't. I gotta go. A lot of traveling to a dream deferred. Lula said to Leonard, I want a diamond ring. Leonard said to Lula, you won't get a goddamn thing. A certain amount of nothing in a dream deferred. Daddy, 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 all I want is you. You can have me, baby, but my loving days are through. 3 parties on my party line, but that third party, Lord, ain't mine. That whole sense that Langston Hughes brought to black vernacular that influenced me as a writer, that sense of the beauty and magic of our vernacular speech, our everyday speech, that sense of contrasting it with standard English. 3 parties on my party line, but that third party, Lord, ain't mine. And then he has that line where he says, there's bound to be confusion in a dream deferred. Going on to say, you act like they don't kick dreams around downtown, but he says, I'm talking about Harlem to you. So I'm happy to be here in Harlem talking about the subject that's dominating my intellectual thoughts, my personal life, is thinking about love. And I wrote all about love as I've
right here
been on
she
this
does.
Search for love, as many of you know. My birthday is Monday. Thank you. And just thinking about that, the whole sort of place of love in our culture and talking to people and, hearing people's stories, hearing their heartache and their joys. And a lot of that influence all about love. I love these library events that are small because we have such a chance to talk with each other here. I'm just going to read a little bit. I'm writing this trilogy of books about love. And All About Love, New Visions, was the first book in the trilogy. And the second one, which I'm going to read just a snippet from today, is called Salvation, Black People in Love. And the third one will come out some time from now. But I'm even writing my next children's book is about love. It's called Homemade Love. Because as you'll hear me read about, one of the things that I found as I talked about love was that children, and particularly African American children, were often very cynical about the place of love in their lives, and that was so difficult to hear. And when children would say to me, I don't think love exists. And so I think it's interesting too that we don't think of children as often in this culture, which is so anti-child, as thinking deeply. But children think very deeply about love, and I know I did as a child. And And
if they don't think or say it, they feel it, right? I just thought that was really powerful to share. I guess I'm gonna hop over to Canopy. Canopy has, which is probably on YouTube, but this is Cultural Criticism and Transformation. I remember I would let this play. There's a Second Wave of Feminism documentary here. I would love to watch that. But anyway, I wanted to play a little bit from this. I love the way that Bell Hooks shows up as a cultural critic. In the spirit of hold up. In the spirit of like a Baldwin. I think there's a Baldwin. I think it's also powerful. It definitely inspires me. Y'all, please make sure y'all hit up C-SPAN. I know some people think C-SPAN is like Ambien, but like just you can get some of your best book talks on C-SPAN. So I encourage you to go to cspan.org and watch any, Bell Hooks, but you can literally search for a number of amazing people and see whether or not they've appeared on C-SPAN either for a book or what have you. But there was something. Was it about Baldwin? Yeah. I was gonna do that. Yeah, let's do her perspective on Baldwin. I thought that was interesting. I think it's really, very interesting.
I'm coming for you, Michael.
Oh, boy. Look at the queen, Jamie Lee Curtis.
American Writers series is focused this week on...
That was a really weird ad. I don't know, how much like how you can coordinate those. That was a really weird ad to show up before this.
Civil rights activist and author James Baldwin. Recently, we sat down with author Bell Hooks to find out how she was influenced by Baldwin's life and writings. This interview was about a half hour.
We're not going to listen to the whole thing, of course. I just really want to hold space for these thoughts, especially from
Bell Hooks,
the 90s.
You hear the name
or
James
2002.
Baldwin. What's the first thing that pops into your mind?
Incredible, daring thinker.
Why?
Because Baldwin thought against the grain, and he covered a lot of territory. I think many people don't realize that because they typecast him as either a gay writer or they don't read the range of his work. This is a man who was, a novelist, an essayist, in many ways a cultural critic before we had the term. For example, his book on film. Lots of people don't even know that Baldwin wrote a book on film. So he was doing really.
And Bell Hooks also wrote a book on film. That's when I grabbed. Shout out Obi-Wan Kenobi. Shout out for the scrub. Thank you, and thank you those who've gifted subs today. I appreciate y'all so much. Yeah, one of my favorite books. The book, though, I pull that quote out all the time about black white supremacy worships at the throne of black mediocrity or whatever. That comes from her book with author Jaffa, Real to Real, REEL to Real. And I thought it was really, I like that she shows up in that space as well and offers certain critiques about black art and black cultural expression.
Call a cultural critic, covering a wide range of topics, writing some social theory essays, but really looking at culture and how culture shapes people, particularly looking at race and sexuality within culture.
Let's break apart what you said then. First, take the thinker part. What was his focus as a thinker, and what was his strength as a thinker?
A primary focus for Baldwin as a thinker was what makes us human, what makes us able to tap into essential goodness. He thought against the notion that we are born to dominate.
I'm just playing C-SPAN, but thank you.
How does that basic essential goodness get perverted by racism, by homophobia, by anything? And how do we restore our sense of well-being? When he has that letter to his nephew where he's saying, you're born black into a world that expects nothing of you. So you have to expect excellence of yourself. I mean, that was the quintessential Baldwin. That call for excellence, that call to push against the boundaries, and to be willing to do whatever it took to get where you needed to go.
What did the period of time that he wrote, how did that influence what he wrote and how he wrote?
I think it was one of the most exciting periods in our nation's history. I often think if I was imagining a time in which I should have been born, because my two literary mentor figures in my life were of that period, Lorraine Hansberry and James Baldwin.
I'm gonna dedicate a whole live stream to Lorraine. Like, seriously. Because y'all don't understand. Y'all, that queer, amazing woman, that feminist, the fact that I've heard her twice with different, she did it in 2014, and she did it her whole life, but her whole career. But like, to hear her continue to lift up Lorraine, especially given the fact that we know that Lorraine Hansberry, Baldwin, and Nina Simone were three best friends. Like, they were tight. Lorraine Hansberry's untimely early death really, really, like, it sent ripples throughout what you read from Baldwin after that, what you got from Nina Simone. It really created a chasm in their at least their artistic work. Like, you could feel the loss, if that makes any sense. And Nina Simone and in Baldwin wrote about the loss, right? Malcolm X. Lorraine Hansberry was very close to Malcolm X, and she died shortly before Malcolm X was assassinated. And the fact that Malcolm X was hiding out from the government or from his would-be assassins, but he snuck out to go visit Lorraine Hansberry's funeral, like to go and honor his friend at her funeral. It's just looking for Lorraine. If you don't read that book. It's so good. And it shows you. I learned so much about Lorraine's work, and I felt like I'm you know, in undergrad, it was all about a raisin in the sun and all that. But I felt like I really understood how radical Lorraine Hansberry was, and I love the fact that Bell Hooks lifts her up so often.
And in, you know, the opening to the book Young, Gifted, and Black, it's Baldwin that she first evokes as part of her last
Justin, I know you got it.
Very early death in her 30s is her relationship with him, and his sort of challenging her to make those leaps in thought and action. I mean, here were people that were political. They were very concerned with colonization in Africa. He was so concerned with what was happening in Harlem and with the fate of Harlem. All of those things taking place before our culture had really come to grips with racial segregation, so that they were really the avant-garde. I think of James Baldwin as leading that avant-garde thinking that was challenging a lot of what we take for granted today. You know, we take for granted certain challenges to racism or to sexuality. They're just a part of what many people feel is the accepted way to live now. They were there when they were on the edge. Lorraine Hansberry, James Baldwin, but particularly Baldwin, because he did live so much longer than Lorraine Hansberry, and he lived to see shifts and changes in a way that few scholars, thinkers do. And he lived to write about those changes and to also let us know what didn't change, what he felt wasn't changing enough.
Set the scene for us.
Okay, I want to bounce out of that. I kind of feel like I want to go back to this piece about her comments on being, like, just to tie it up, like what the author, well, at least the author of this piece was trying to kind of help crystallize about her incendiary views on Beyonce. I think that's helpful to kind of unpack some of her work. I also want to get to BNC News, Mark Lamont Hill, who is, you know, Mark Lamont Hill, Philadelphia, Imani Perry, Philadelphia / Jersey. On BNC News paid tribute to Bell Hooks last night because they brought in Cornell West, who was a dear friend of Bell Hooks. BNC News, Bell Hooks. So I would definitely want to get to that, right here. But I wanted to just tie up that whole, like, what the authors, because the title of the piece, y'all, before Saweetie's music started playing, what Bell Hooks really meant when she called Beyonce a terrorist. This is their version. It said, and I got you. Hey, what's up, Diane? The other Diane. What's up? Let me see. Love listening this morning while driving. Gotta go. Good. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for saying hi. Thank you for everything. And thank you for your support. All right. Yeah. Yeah, this Beyonce tension, good. Tension is good. Let it be like, yeah. And I can't wait to continue to have this conversation, especially with Evelyn. I definitely think it's such a rich conversation. Shout out, who's that? New follower. Okay. All right, new follower here. All right. So let me just read a little bit. I think this is the author of the pieces. I think this is their commentary. It says Beyonce has stayed demure most of her career, allowing the public to think what they wanted about her. However, with her 2013 surprise Beyonce LP, she shared her exact thoughts through each song, and she's done that so much more too. With I'm gonna skip down with like Lemonade, especially, right? It felt like for me it was strategic vulnerability, because I always have to keep in mind with Beyonce, she's a music artist first and foremost. Well, she's not. Let me not say that. She's a music artist, not first and foremost. I'm sure her identity doesn't begin with her entertaining me. But she's an artist, and she's also a billionaire. So I'm always going to be like real leery of when I see vulnerability in art, when that hasn't been consistent throughout. I'm just going to question it. I don't know. I got questions. Yeah, anyway, so 2013, she started to kind of break out. She shared exact thoughts. I wanted to get to, here we go. So the author says here, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. These efforts might ring hollow as a pop star, like talking about her being vulnerable, as the pop star parades around in tailored bodysuits, yikes, flaunting a perfect hourglass shape. And that is Hooks' point, no doubt. But what's the alternative? Beyonce eschewing her diet and walking away from the treadmill, because Beyonce was very vocal about the master cleanse and all that other stuff she did to stay thin. Even with the Homecoming Netflix documentary / musical special, she talked about all the things. She didn't eat anything but like, she just ate a very strict plant-based diet to get in shape for Coachella. And I think she continues to confound people and continues to, complicate certain narratives about herself. All right, to that point, no doubt. But what's the alternative? Beyonce eschewing her diet and walking away from her treadmill. She is a business, and she wants to look good. That's fine. I think her feminist messaging is an attempt at balancing the human Beyonce with the Beyonce in the business. Yes, and ultimately that is her business, and it's strategic. It's definitely that. Whenever I never really look at Beyonce as not a terrorist, as a feminist. People like to call her that. I don't necessarily think she's a feminist, but I do think that she is growing. I think she's grown a lot. I think she hears people's critiques of her and her politics, but she's a whole ass billionaire, so that's that. It is what it is, kind of thing, right? And he says, and for all that terrorism talk, Bell Hooks still can't help but dance. Okay, yeah, all right. So I guess Bell Hooks went on to, anyway, it was interesting to read that very sloppily. Here we go. Let's listen to this interview at least as much as we can. I'm acknowledging the time as well. And I got you. Let me read the chat. It's definitely a struggle for me to allow my views for women to express their sexuality. However, they feel a must with the need for things to not be always viewed through the male gaze, aka Beyonce being seen as a sexual object on display. Yeah, and that's something like I constantly go back and forth with too. And I think y'all know this by now. Like, this is a space. So I was having this conversation with my friend Amron, who goes to Pratt, who I stayed with after I got fired from Cypress. I stayed there for a week in Brooklyn. And Amron and I were talking about our friends here and how they're beautiful contradictions, right? And I really do hope that this is a space where you'll get that there is no hard and fast right or wrong. I don't believe in absolutes. I try to reject them as much as possible. And I don't subscribe to absolutes. And I think that's why I think that to the panelist's point, I believe that was a documentary filmmaker. I can't remember which one. I'm sorry. I know y'all helped me out earlier. But that's not even important. To that point, like there is an element of reclamation when women do that, when they do free the nipple, and the young thin white girl is walking around New York or Manhattan shopping. There is a reclamation quality to what they're trying to do, but I don't know if participating in your own objectification. I don't know. I get stuck there. I just keep getting stuck there. Because I know that this body, and then when I speak to indigenous women, missing and murdered indigenous women, the hashtag, when I spoke to Rose Ironshell a few years ago, she even talked about that. Like, she says, I see white girls jogging in like a broad top and shorts. She's like, I can't do that because they scooping us up off the streets because don't nobody care about us. I can't do that and put myself on display and possibly attract the wrong attention. There's a level of precaution that women of color have to exercise as they go out into this world. And it complicates a conversation around feminism, around at least the more mainstream versions of feminism, that I've been a part of. And that's the thing that I really wanted to leave space for, that, like these contradictions, but wait, there's these exceptions, these addendums, or whatever you want to call them, that we can add on, we can keep adding on in this conversation. But I love the tension. I don't dislike the tension. Shout out to I'm gonna call Diane DP. Shout out to DP. We got DP. Something that she said before she bounced. So anyway, I just think it's interesting. Little drummer friend, you said she encourages feminist points when doing so. It helps with her brand, right? It's yeah. And it's that y'all know how I feel about now, where I do get really kind of like unmovable on, is that influencer culture, right? How influencers or celebrity culture has crept into social justice work or the fight for Black liberation. And so to that point, Beyonce likes to employ, like, I'm gonna say this, and look, I'm a Black woman. I've got Black women as friends. Whenever I start something off like that, just know I'm coming. I love Black women. I love us. I love us. I love us unconditionally. Even the ones I don't bang with, I would definitely throw a lifeline to. Even if you want Southern Charm, cooning it up, I ain't gonna throw you away. All right, I love us. But let me get back to what I was trying to say. But Black women are the easiest to pander to. And hear me out when I say this, because Beyonce has perfected this shit. So like, no, the Democrats have perfected this shit. So like, I feel like Beyonce knows when to come out with art. And I don't want to make this all about Beyonce, but I think celebrities know when to come out to make something specifically about Black women. To make something that speaks directly to us, to write a song, literally a song called Brown Skin Girl, directly to us, about us, featuring images of us at various ages and different sizes and shapes. Because we don't see enough of us, we run to it. I'm present company included. We run to it, right? Beyonce knows it. Got it. Good job. That was. I see what you did there, little drummer friend. So that, so I feel like sometimes we can be very we can be very enthusiastic when we see ourselves, when we see someone of that magnitude, of any celebrity's magnitude, paying particular attention to us in ways that the mainstream media doesn't often do. And the way that a lot of artists, male artists, we're not centered all the time. And I think sometimes when people like Beyonce, taking it away from her a little bit and broadening it out, because she's not the only one that does it, I think that strategic vulnerability, or that strategic solidarity, or that strategic, call to hey, y'all, let's celebrate our womanhood. Some of that is just very, very easy to do. If I wanted to come up with a line of support Black women, listen to Black women, love Black women. If I want to do something like that, it would be very popular. I would, if I really poured my heart into something and created that effort, I think it would be easy to do. And I think a lot of people understand that, because we've been starved of so much love and attention that when we get it, we just don't even question it. We kind of just take it, and not in a bad way. Just sometimes we just, you know what I mean. And sometimes I do want to put on Brown Skin Girl and celebrate me and my nieces and my mama and my sister and all that, right? Yeah, Brandon Silvers, you said you've been staying low in this conversation. Says you need your own version of Hakeem Nicks. I do. Yo, Brandon, there was a laugh. I can't remember whose laugh it was. I was thinking about that. You already know. We Le Batard fans here. You, me, and Justin are Le Batard fans. Yep. All right, here we go.
Where we stand are just a few. She was born Gloria Jean.
Rwanda.
Many around the world are mourning this evening after the passing of Bell Hooks, the acclaimed author, cultural critic, poet, and feminist who died earlier today at her home in Berea, Kentucky at the age of 69. A trailblazing scholar and activist, Bell Hooks influenced generations of thinkers and writers with a voice that was always fresh and bravely honest. She wrote more than 40 books, all about love, Ain't I a Woman, and Where We Stand are just a few. She was born Gloria Jean Watkins, and she chose the name Bell Hooks as her pen name, spelled in all lowercase, to put a focus on the ideas rather than her celebrity. In her work, Bell Hooks addressed subjects of race, gender, and class with passion and intellectual boldness, and she will be profoundly missed. Joining me now to talk about the life and legacy of Bell Hooks is acclaimed philosopher and activist,
I just love those covers.
Dr. Cornel West. My brother, it's always good to see you. I wish it were under better circumstances, but talk to me about who Bell Hooks was to you.
My dear brother, Bell Hooks was someone who I loved dearly, respected deeply. She was an intellectual giant.
Where he at?
A spiritual genius, a titan for freedom. He was a love warrior coming out of our community, a black people, a hated people, but keep dishing out wounded healers and love warriors every generation. She was one of the great love conductors on what the Isley brothers called the caravan of love, my brother, or what the OJs call the love train.
No, I mean the room.
Justice, it was connected to soulfulness, it was connected to...
I get distracted by little things. Little drummer friend. Exactly, K-Bells. I get distracted. I'm looking at look like a leaky ceiling. I know I'm like, yo, what? You moving out? You just they gotta come and spackle? Like the chair done rubbed up against the wall. I'm sorry. Right, anyway. K-Bells, you be saying what I be thinking. I'm sorry, this is a serious star stream. I was like, yo, you a whole ass like world renowned leftist scholar. And put a tapestry up. Put a poster up. A calendar, something. Use the Zoom backdrop feature. I don't know.
Perseverance, to resilience, and to resistance.
I'm sorry.
And it's just hard to find words to describe who she was. But it's a major loss, though, man. It's a very, very sad moment in the history of our people, in the history of the American Empire, in the history of all oppressed peoples who love freedom and will never stop in our struggle for freedom.
It's important that you use that word empire, because one of the things that Bell talked about increasingly in her work, although it was always there, was the idea of white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchal empire. She named the name. She was willing to point out the contradictions of our economic system, of our cultural realities, of our social practices. Can you just give my audience some sense of just how significant an intervention her work was in the life of the mind?
That she had the kind of courage to get at the root. And by getting at the root, she knew she had to talk about imperialism, which is indigenous peoples, which is the settler colonialism of America, which is also the enslavement of dignified Africans, and also the exploitation of workers no matter what color, and also the devaluing and oppression gays and lesbians and trans and non-binary. So she had a holistic
Did I spell spackle
view.
right?
She was very critical of the neoliberal forms of feminism and neoliberal forms of black struggle that would only talk about inclusion without talking about the class structure. That's why I was so glad you mentioned her text of 2000, where we stand, class matters. And she would hit this issue over and over again. You remember the book, the text that she and I did together on Breaking Bread and Serving Black Intellectual Life, brother. She hit the issue back then, 1991, man.
Yeah.
And
wow.
30 years later.
I thought that was really dope. There was an actual, it was just a little snippet. I think I played it. Let me see. Oh, it was her and Cornell. It definitely was in the 90s, because that's what I thought I was playing earlier. There was her and Cornell. It might not have been in the 90s. And they like, no, it wasn't that one. It wasn't this one. Let me see if I can look it up. Bell Hooks and Cornell. Let me see, West. Boom. Yeah. There it is. This right here. This is from 96. And so this was Cornell West talked about, Bell Hooks and Cornell West talked about the perspectives on the nation's beloved community. Right? It's just a throwback just to see Dr. Cornell West.
I want to talk to this guy.
Hold on one second.
Hey, dude, I love your car. I've always wanted a Range Rover myself. Just curious.
Because it was very difficult for me, because he has been such a comrade.
Or 97.
And is such
96.
a comrade, to disagree with him and to be public about saying, I don't agree with something he said. And I think that goes to the heart of how we often conceptualize community wrongly and beloved community wrongly.
This is important.
Which is that we do not have a space for disagreement.
Look at young Cornell.
Disagreement means somehow the end of love, and not that it's the beginning of a fuller, deeper, richer love.
And I love that she
Very
talks
much.
about love. Like, she talks about all kinds of love, but I love this community love, this beloved. Like, I love how she cares for us, Black folk, but also the extended community, like the human race. Like, not to sound too like Pollyanna-ish. Like, it really, I love this conversation because this is exactly what informs what I want to build out with Charleston Activist Network Media is like, how do I love in my community? How do I demonstrate loving accountability? How am I remaining firm on some things, some non-negotiables? But also, how do I foster a place where disagreement doesn't mean we're done talking, right? Because I want to be in those spaces where disagreement doesn't mean, you disrespecting me. Oh, no. It's your views aren't in line with mine. So it means absolutely, like how do we have these conversations where disagreement, and if you read Looking for Lorraine, Justin, when you crack it open, you'll get to a chapter that talks about the three friends, Baldwin, Lorraine Hansberry, and Nina Simone. And he talk about how when people would if they were at a party or they were at a social setting, and if you would just stumble across this party, you'd hear these three voices sounding like they were going to blows, like sounding like they were about to fucking fight. Now Monty Perry didn't say fucking fight, but you get what I'm saying? But it was just these three friends with very, very, very strong opinions and very different opinions on a lot of different things. But they held each other as three best friends. And so that stuck with me because out of all the things that stuck a lot of things stuck with me in the book, but that stuck with me too because that's the kind of friendship and that's the type of community that I long for. Where and I know that there is an antagonistic quality to what I put out in some instances. I don't mind poking a billionaire bear. I know that's not probably best for me. We live in a litigious society, right? But I don't mind doing that. But when it comes to us, I'm learning how to do that less with my fellow community. I haven't been good at that. I fucked that up. I was purely antagonistic with people who I didn't agree with. And so like, I'm really trying to work harder at, okay, disagreement doesn't mean I disavow you, I disown you, I discard you, right? To just hammer some alliteration home. I just thought that was interesting.
So, very much so. Would you like me to read this quote that you
We
asked
were
me
going to
read?
start reading a quote from Martin Luther King.
Yeah, we think this is an appropriate starting place, other than saying that we're glad to be here. It's always a joy.
I just saw that joy.
For me to be here with my comrade and colleague and sister, Bell Hooks, I must say. I was talking about how much I love Bell Hooks. And I'd like to thank Brother Thomas Michelson for his visionary leadership of this institution to bring us, for bringing us together. But we thought it would be crucial to begin with this quote from Brother Martin Luther King Jr. This is from his speech, "Where do we go from here?" Martin says, "I have decided to love." Major decision. If you are seeking the highest good, I think you can find it through love. And the beautiful thing is that we are moving wrong when we do not do it, because John was right, God is love. He who hates, and this is Martin saying he who hates does not know God, but he who has love has the key that unlocks the door to the meaning of ultimate reality. That's from Martin.
I have decided to love. If you are seeking the highest good, I think you can find it through love. And the beautiful thing is that we're moving wrong when we don't do it, because John was right. God is love. She who hates does not know God, but she who has love has the key that unlocks the door to the meaning of ultimate reality.
And for me, love is not a soupy kind of thing.
This right here.
And I think this is crucial, because in a market culture like our own, in a hotel civilization like America, love is either reduced to some kind of stimulatory lust.
Come on.
Or some kind of sentimental.
And what does capitalism always tell us? What does capitalism always try to tell us? That love is something you buy, right? Scatella. Something I could tell y'all, right? I gotta go get the jewelry, right? I gotta get the candy. You know what I mean? I gotta love on you. Whatever the Babyface song is that you're thinking of in your head. That's what we're taught that love is. And it just is this broader discussion of love. And I love that. I really do. I have enjoyed Dr. Cornel West's continuous lifting up of Dr. King's work and introducing me, especially through the book A Radical King, introducing me to Martin Luther King's love ethic, and like really having that new, like his principles, like what the principles that MLK embodied, and at least politically, right, about love, I thought were really something I downplayed, or something that I'd never paid attention to until I started really listening to scholars really, peel back some of the work and really look at it a little more closely. So I love that they keep lifting up King. And then here he's making the distinction between like romantic love, like y'all know all the kinds of love there is, but like not that soupy syrupy love, not the love that Charleston tries to tell us to promote, that unity love that without reconciliation, without atonement, without accountability, right? Oh, let's just hold hands across the bridge after this massive tragedy. No. We need to. This is an amazing time for us to really dig deeper into how we got to this place and to really talk about race in Charleston in ways that we haven't talked about since the days of Mother Emanuel's first founding. You know what I'm saying? Like really expand that conversation. So not that fugazi love, right? Not that fugazi Skatel's love. Shout out to Skatel. I don't know why I keep talking about Skatel's. Probably because that Baskin Robbins is right there. And yeah, I be getting that cotton candy ice cream.
Passion. What love is about struggle. What Sister Bell was talking about when she acknowledged the degree to which we have various kinds of disagreements. She was saying, Cornell, or Brother Cornell, we need to escalate the level of our struggle together. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult to talk about love in America is because we live in such a sentimental and melodramatic culture.
Come on.
Which is to say, we like to stimulate feelings without any serious action or commitment.
Now listen!
And of course, you cannot talk about love
now listen!
without talking about death.
Now listen!
And of course, America's been denying death ever since she began the City on the Hill.
Ooh.
Cities on the Hill don't die. They're eternal. They're above history. They last forever.
I'm gonna leave it there. Oh my God, I'm gonna leave this clip there. Yeah. Oh, I'm saying, for real, right? Go ahead, go off, go off. I want to invite y'all to because David Remnick republished this piece on New Yorker. Look, if you open up any paper today, most larger papers, they've got an audio feature, and like the New Yorker been on this, right? So New Yorker has Autumn, AUDM. I am a subscriber to Autumn, because let me tell you, sometimes y'all, it's hard to read all of this stuff and put on eyebrows. It's hard to read all this stuff and fix my website. Fix the font on my website so that people can read it, which I got to do today. It's really hard to multitask, and so I love the fact that they're making reading these pieces more accessible. So I invite you to go to this New Yorker piece. Like, you just literally just Google David Remnick, bell hooks. But this right here, David bell hooks on how we raise men. I didn't even get too much of that today. Let me see. Did I pause?
This New Yorker podcast is supported by Kyndryl. Okay. Kyndryl Designs.
I'm gonna mute that while that ad plays. But it's okay. So let me just read a little bit of this. Word came on Wednesday that Gloria Jean Watkins, an endlessly versatile and probing social critic who went by the pen name Bell Hooks, has died at the age of 69. Hooks, who was raised in segregated town of Kentucky, wrote dozens of books and was best known for her works on feminism, including Ain't I a Woman, Yearning, Race, Gender, and Cultural Politics, and Killing Rage. And we didn't even get to that. She talked about Killing Rage on C-SPAN, and it was really, really dope. The last time we spoke was in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein Me Too movement. So I wanted to play this, a little bit of this.
Bell Hooks has been thinking about the roots of male aggression for a very long time, and she addressed it directly in a book called The Will to Change: Men, Masculinity, and Love. It was a somewhat controversial book at the time among other feminists in particular, because rather than excoriating the worst behavior of men individually, she looks at masculinity as a whole, as a kind of regime that oppresses everybody, including men.
masculinity.
So when you look at the Louis
not
C.K.
patriarchy.
incident, for example, or series of incidents, what does it suggest to you in the broader sense, in terms of the way we live? You've written about men and masculinity and patriarchy and all the rest. What does it suggest to you that we're not talking about quite yet?
Well, you said the key word, David. In all of this, I've read a ton of stuff, and hardly anybody has used the word patriarchy. Because in part, we want to act like this is individual male psychopathology and not like this is normal. And I went back to my 2004 book, The Will to Change, Men and Masculinity, and it's so much about how we raise males to believe that violence is how you get what you want, and that you have a right to violence.
You talk in that very book, in The Will to Change, you talk in the book about being a child and noticing the differences in how you and your brother were raised, starting at a very young age. Can you talk about some of those differences in order to, in a sense, begin a discussion of what patriarchy is and how it traps men and women?
Well,
and shapes us.
My father, who was a very violent, very patriarchal man.
Listen.
He was in the all-black infantry in World War II. He was a boxer. He was a basketball player. He was all of these things that we associate with masculinity. And in fact, really had a lot of disdain for my brother, because actually my brother was a much softer, warmer human being. And my father looked down on that. He felt that was not masculine.
But when you're reading about and watching the news in the last few weeks, how does this all relate to the creation of patriarchy? How are these manifestations of patriarchy? The Louis C.K. incident, the incident with various editors all around the country behaving in this way in newsrooms, not just Harvey Weinstein.
Well, what I would say about all of these men is that if we could research their childhoods, we would probably find that they have been the victims of some kind of trauma and probably some kinds of sexually related trauma. I think many, many, many males are abused as children in ways that we cannot talk about.
Well, one of the reasons that you got criticized for that book sometimes was that it seemed too sympathetic to men in some cases. Isn't that the case?
Absolutely. I mean, I still think that if we really want patriarchy to change, we are in trouble if we turn our backs on men and not really want to examine why are men so violent. John Bradshaw used to say that the primary form of child abuse is really shaming. And I think that if we look at all of these men and their behavior, it's such shaming behavior.
So I think what you're saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because it's essential here, that rather than looking at this as a series of cases and outliers and marveling at the great number of them, we need to think of it in systemic terms, that this is the way.
Absolutely, David.
This is the way we all are. So how do we not live like this any longer?
Shame is what we see every day.
We've got to be willing to challenge the way we parent. I mean, one of the things that I say to people, patriarchy has no gender. Just because a boy is being raised by a mother doesn't mean that that mother isn't patriarchal in her mindset. That the mother isn't telling that boy, you need to be a man. You know, you need to be a better man than your loser dad. And I can remember when dozens of mainly white feminist women
has no gender.
Were very concerned because they were having boys. And how will we raise these boys to be different? And after a while, you know, oh, my son wants a gun. I just can't keep it from him because all the other kids have guns. I mean, that's the interesting transition that we made away from caring about the masculinity of boys. I mean, they didn't want to see a correlation between what we take into ourselves about masculinity and how it's acted out.
Belle, what is the next step then? You talked about parenting, obviously, as essential to shifting away from a standard.
I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop it there. You can find this at the New Yorker. You can also find, I think it was NYC, because I remember listening to this like via podcast. It said, the New Yorker, but I feel like this conversation was in WNYC or something. But I invite y'all to please look at this David Remnick, Bell Hooks piece that again was from when the whole Me Too era or the Me Too movement started to really got its initial like movement. And I think it's really worth it. This gonna feel real awkward, but to that point, I do want to end because Bell Hooks coined the phrase. Let me not butcher it. No matter how many times I literally heard her say it this morning. Coin. It was the patriarchy. Right, where she links all of the oppression. Where she links all the oppression together. What is it? We live in like a white supremacist. I don't want to butcher it. Let me see if it's here. Y'all drop it in the chat. You know what I'm talking about. The white supremacist patriarchy. She links the patriarchy with other forms of oppression. She coined that phrase. And it made me think long and hard about, my interacting with masculinity, right? So whatever. Y'all know the phrase I'm talking about. She literally mentioned it at New School, and I just fucked it up. But I want to go to Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. It's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack. And it made me think about this. And I'm going to show this tweet. I'm going to show this excerpt about masculinity. It's not Bell Hooks related directly. Let me see. It was Aisha. Rest in peace to Aisha K. Faines, who died unexpectedly and at such an early age this past summer. I believe it was summer still. But she used to participate in the Grapevine. I showed y'all the Grapevine when we had that conversation about, we talked about Nikki Haley. We had a broader conversation about Nikki Haley abandoning a lot of her Asian heritage, right? We had that conversation. Y'all saw the panelists with the Asian panelists, the Gen Zers and some millennials. And so that's the Grapevine. And Aisha, let me see if I can find it. It's my tweet. I'm literally looking for my tweet. Let me see if my tweet comes up. Yeah, here it is. Duh. So yeah. This is before she passed. I love this clip from her. I think this is it. Wait, is this it?
Women get chose. We have.
Oh yeah. Just about masculinity in general. Let me see. This is mine though. I think this is it. I thought that maybe I edited it down, but let me see if this is it.
To the same scrutiny that women are held for beauty when it comes to money, because most men are not rich. And reality is, in the animal kingdom, females typically do the choosing. Humans, women get chose. We have patriarchy to thank for that. And the truth about monogamy is, and the truth about monogamy is, monogamy is even made to benefit men. Right. The truth is, polyandry. Let her finish. Polyandry and polygamy benefits women.
Okay, so that's to give you a little flavor, right? That's not because I edited it. What I posted, it was about men, how men are raised. Oh man, I'm trying to find it's my tweet, and I'm trying to find it. I kept retweeting old girl, like she's just a brilliant mind we lost too soon. Brilliant, from Jersey, Muslim, amazing, just amazing. Oh, I'm trying to find it. Let me see. Nope. Y'all giving me? Let me see. Monogamy benefit. Like I'm telling you, she is so like on it. It was crazy, like how on it she was. Good googly. I'm trying to find it. Let me see if my shit come up. I really want to play. Like, I've been wanting to play this for a minute. Oh my God. Games. And about like it shed more light into like how we socialize men versus like, and then she talked about the whole like monogamy benefits men, and in other societies, of course, like, anyway, damn, it is so good. I'm horrible at this. I tweet. I want to just go to my shit and look at my media. My profile. My media. It's going to be forever. I don't know. Hold on. Bear with me. I know y'all are like, I got to go, Mika. Mika, I got to go. I'm like, yeah, go. Oh, that's the tweet where Darren liked my shit. Darren Goss liked my shit. Trying to be cute. Like, you don't like a critical tweet. I see you too, boo. I see you too. Oh, there's my favorite Bell Hooks quote. I keep posting. I post this like, I think I got I feel like an obligation to post this. I don't know. So white supremacy creates a situation where white people worship at the throne of black mediocrity. And that means it will always seek to nurture that which is half formed in the black expressive culture over that which demonstrates some quality of vision or illumination. Whenever I get frustrated about like things not being embraced or something like that, something I create, or if I'm like, not included, and I see who they lift up in my stead, right? I'm not gonna find it this way. Hold on, I think I can find it here. I always post that tweet whenever I get passed over for like a mediocre man at that, or like for lack of a better phrase, it's for black people. It's for all the black people. I'm in mixed company, but I'm speaking direct. Y'all can't use this. White people, non-black POC can't use this word. Especially those like when I get passed up for like a coon, I'm like, oh okay, that's what you wanted. That's what you wanted. Grapevine, Aisha. I really want to. It's so like it. Oh, I think this isn't in it. This might be it. When she talks about how men are raised. Let me see if this is it.
Sometimes this conversation about NOLA centers around sexual liberation. I actually don't even think this is just me. I don't even think this is really about the sex. And I'll tell you why. I think because you have a lot of women, no shade, who are out here busting it open for 2-3 men. The difference is it's off and on. It's a man you haven't heard from in a minute,
Right, it's not it. I'll find it and share it. I'm upset. I'm obsessed. All right, so anyway, it was about men being raised. It was about men being raised to only like they only express love through domination, right? They can only and when they're being coupled, like men are raised and socialized to love through domination, and like raised and how we raise women to wait to be chose, right? And the men do the choosing. It was just a really interesting concept on masculinity. So I'll save it for tomorrow, even though we got Brandon. Brandon will be on 8:30. Brandon, I didn't tell you that, but I'm gonna send you all your links and all that. So tomorrow, Brandon's gonna join us. Y'all can meet. Y'all can see the face behind some of these names. That'd be super dope. Let me switch up. Oh, I went a little longer than I thought. So yeah, tomorrow we're gonna talk to Brandon. It's gonna be Friday. All right. My hair is looking marvelous. I'm sorry, y'all. Deep condition really long this week, and I'm like really feeling how soft and beautiful. All right. Anyway, so yeah, Brandon will be here tomorrow at 8:30. It'll be more of a structured conversation, a structured live stream, and that it won't be me meandering for 30 minutes, 33 minutes, 38, 40 minutes. We'll get right to the point after we do a news roundup tomorrow, and we're gonna talk about whatever Brandon wants to talk about. How about that? How about we don't have to talk about politics like that? We can talk about the politics of living in Charleston. We're gonna talk about whatever he wanna talk about. But I'm excited for y'all to meet Brandon. Also, again, thank you for all. I mean, I shared it in the DMs from my personal Instagram account with Justin. I'm getting interesting support right? I'm getting great support, and I really appreciate the support with the fundraiser. Shout out to Mackenzie, shout out to Elliot, shout out to Headspace Murals, but as equally important, strike that on the record, Your Honor, stenographer. What's equally as important is your support and how y'all show up for me. And y'all get it. Y'all get that I'm not just playing videos and y'all watching me, right? You get that this is a participatory media platform where we talk about things and really just have fun too, from a place of love, from a place of caring and loving accountability. So I want to say thank you for believing in me. I will work hard and you will hold me to account. I will work hard to justify your confidence in me. And I think every purchase or every person you ask to help support the fundraiser, anytime you go out and advocate for me, I'm going to make sure I justify that by how I show up here prepared and ready to have a conversation. So thank you. If you're not sure how to talk to people, because I really want y'all, almost more than y'all buying the sweatshirt, this family here, take your enthusiasm and ask people hey, I like this platform. I think you might like it too. And so we have the verbiage. Shout out to Mackenzie. She created the verbiage for the ask, right? So if you want to hey, I don't have my tote bag yet, but if I have my tote bag, I tell you, if you want to act like this is like a PBS, mug, I don't have a mug or a tote bag for y'all, but if you want to go out there and share and be an ambassador, please do that. Break it down to people what I'm trying to do. We have the verbiage for you. So if you want that, hit me up. You can text me if you have my number, or you can email me if you want the verbiage, so you can go out and make the ask to other presumably like-minded individuals who are looking for more progressive content. And if they say, "Whoa, Twitch is that?" Say it's just a website. Like Tom told me, it's just a website. It's just a website. It's just a website. You ain't got to download. That's what I like about Twitch. You don't got to download nothing. You just go ahead and click on it. You might not be able to participate as much as the Twitch peeps do, but it's just a website. Because a lot of people sometimes, let me be real, I while I was not a great merchant or saleswoman, I did work in retail. I did run several high profit, $90 million plus profit centers in the Philadelphia metro area. And I did learn this. Sometimes people sometimes an inconvenience can turn off a customer that wasn't committed anyway. You come to Target, you came to pick up the milk, but then you go over there and you see that they're stocking the milk. Well, damn, I gotta go. Maybe that customer wasn't committed. Maybe that person wasn't committed. Maybe not. Yeah. So sometimes is Twitch another app is like that deterrent. I'm like, nah, it's just a website. Oh no, so if you was going to get that milk and they're restocking it, you can ask, well, how long will it be till I get the 2% milk there? Oh, it's only gonna take 5 minutes. I'll go shop over here and come right back. Go ahead and just remove that barrier. If that's a barrier, sometimes the bullshit barrier too. Go ahead and just say, no, it's just a website. It's just a website. That's it. Yeah. All right. Thank y'all. I love y'all so much. I'm gonna type it wide before I leave. I love y'all so much. I love y'all, love y'all, love y'all. Please come back tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. Talking to Brandon. Bye.